Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Diabolical Souls Presents episode 2 of Arcane. We're going to be doing the review. I'm going to be bringing on my friends here, and we're going to be discussing it. But first, if you could, please hit that like button. Please leave a comment. Please subscribe to Diabolical Souls Presents and be a friend. Tell a friend about Diabolical Souls Presents. That'd be greatly appreciated. I want to hit that 1,000 mark, and go beyond that, but let's get to 1,000 first. So let's get this party started. Let's bring on the co-hosts here. Let's bring on Amateur Analyst. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, Jay? Good to be
I'm
back
good,
for episode 2.
Episode 2. Ready to do this?
I am.
All right. Well, let's get the other man here. It's the Penzo. What's going on, brother?
Just chilling, Gooch. How about yourself?
I'm good. It's been crazy. It's been a crazy week.
I enjoyed your Hypnotic stream.
Yeah, it was good. It's always good talking with Hypnotic. He's a great guy. I love talking with that guy. So he's got a great channel. Go check out his channel as well, Saturday Night Hypnosis, and his videos, his Hypnotic manga, all of that. Go check it out. It'd be greatly appreciated. Let's get the other man in here. Let's get actually Andrew. What's going on there, brother?
Not much. We'll be back.
Are you just eating tortilla chips with nothing on them?
No, they're these.
Oh,
I don't know if you've ever heard of these, but these are
corn.
banger.
Okay.
Yeah. I got bag face on these. He loves them.
Did you get them at Costco, or where'd you get them?
Just like Walmart or Kroger near me.
So they're like
kettle
corn popcorn chips?
Yeah, popcorn chips. I'll read the ingredients.
Wow. Well, before you do that,
all right,
because we're a bunch of weirdos.
I'll cut the advertisement right now.
Yes,
I'll cut the advertisement for popcorn.
I'm just confused as to what the hell it is.
Oh, well, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Because we're a bunch of weirdos, let's get this fine young lad on here. Little Platoon, how are you doing?
I'm all right, thank you. I'm sorry to have interrupted the reading from the back of a crisp packet.
Oh,
I mean, that sounds like Thriller second kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a fat man, so I'm
You're
interested
good, bro.
in popcorn chips. I've never heard of such a thing.
They're really good. Trust me.
Okay.
They are pretty
They're
good.
just good.
Anything cooked in a kettle is pretty good.
Thank you all, you guys, for coming on again and doing the review. Platoon, thanks for jumping on and doing this review with us. I know you're busy all the time, so thank you so much for coming on. And of course, you guys are awesome. So, and everyone in the chat, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a lot of fun doing these reviews on Thursday nights, and we're going to continue doing them. So do you guys want to get this thing started?
Sure.
Oh, we're off to a great start. All right.
I don't want to see how everyone's day was, really. If you
yeah, like talk about the chips some more.
I'll do my best. I'm getting over being
I can
very
pull
ill.
out the bag. All right. I'm kidding.
This is episode 2. Some mysteries are better left unsolved.
Yes.
Which I really like. It should be a week episode, but it's not. We get the setup for the B plot, which is Jayce and his whole magic thing. Which I really, really like. I think his intro is like one of the best out of like the character intros. We get that like 2001 A Space Odyssey sort of nod with the flying through time and space, which is super cool. Yeah. Anyone else got any?
Specifically the part you're talking about with like the magician who shows up and in the past. That's one of the coolest visuals in the entire series when there's like the Earth vision or whatever. It's very remind me of like kind of Alex Ross Kingdom Come style, the Spectre, all that good stuff. But yeah, the other side of this blue explosion.
Yes, literally. But I love that like magic bit where he's like just the way he moves and the sound design and like the way the music sort of supports it. It's a very, very cool scene for me.
Well, yeah, he gets blowed up, and then he has like a flashback to this time where he gets saved from this magician, Arcane guy. He uses arcane magic. Do we know, is this guy like a character from the games? Are we supposed to, like, he doesn't really come back?
I think he is.
Some people think he is. There's a character in the not the show, but in the video game that's called Rise, and they think it's him. But there's no
I don't
like
think it's him.
confirmation, I believe.
It doesn't even.
I don't even
like
know
him,
who Rise is, so sure, it's him. Fine, gamers. I don't know.
Well, the Arcane subreddit isn't the most stable individuals I've ever encountered on the internet, but
Really?
Oh no.
Example.
just Google cat vi. That's enough.
That's true.
It's always
I'm happy for them, but holy shit,
sorry
guys,
about that.
chill out.
no worries.
The one part I like is the entrance going back to the door, the other side of the door. I like that setup, and I like how they, in the second episode, they go to the other side of the door. You learning about Jayce, like you guys mentioned, and then the past, going to the past, and you learn about Jayce and the wizard here. I like that setup. Because the way it ended off in episode 1 was kind of like a cliffhanger-ish kind of,
yeah.
Ending, with him holding the vial, talking about, he has someone that he could use to do a trial run on it. You're thinking, oh, it's gonna start off the second episode like that, but no, we're starting off way back from like the beginning of episode 1, pretty much, but you're on this side of the door, which is pretty cool editing. I like that.
Yeah, they give us a bunch of cues too to help us remember like the scene. So there's like, her looking through the door, her putting the chair putting the chair underneath the door handle, all that kind of stuff, them hearing someone at the door at the same time. It's a lot of meaningful connections that help remind us of the first episode and the first plot line. So like we get a good sense of where we are, that we have come back in time a little bit. Very, very nicely done there.
Your thoughts, Platoon, because you weren't here for episode 1. So what are your thoughts so far, going from episode 1 into episode 2?
Yeah, so I think episode 1 is principally the character introduction episode, and it does a very, very good job of doing that. There's one of the remarkable things about this entire show is how much it packs into any given relatively short episode. Episode 2 is the theme introduction episode, and the baseline version of the theme of Arcane is it's the parable of control, right? So it's the temptation of power which corrupts, and that's the very simplistic version of the thing that sort of permeates the entire show. But just in the course of this one episode, actually, it's more complex than that, because it's every single character who's introduced in this episode, or we see in this episode, is introduced very specifically within the context of rebellion and control, which makes it really, really fascinating. And I mean, every single person in just this one episode. So you've got Jayce, mastery of control over the Arcane, which is obviously the one that really drives most of the plot along. But alongside that, you've got Heimerdinger's try to attempt to control Jayce and to limit the experimentation with magic. You've got Vander trying to control Vi and keep her from fulfilling what she believes is her potential. You've got Vi trying to control Powder. Every single relationship in this is harking back always to theme, which is that every single person wishes for balance, but every single person's idea of balance and control is fundamentally confused and contradictory. And the more you attempt to exercise your control and to really enforce your balance over the world, over nature, over politics, over character, the more you're going to be storing up rebellion in the future. And every single scene in this episode is geared toward putting that message across. And it's only the second time I think I've seen this episode, but it really sort of struck home while watching it how very, very impressive that is, to combine all of that into about 40 minutes.
And what are your general thoughts about the animation?
I mean, I really like it. I'm terrible with any sort of visual art stuff, which is bad because it's kind of my job. But I'm shit at that. So I'll go to an art gallery. I don't care. I know what I like the look of, and I know what I don't like the look of. I couldn't really tell you very much about why that is the case. I've always liked the way Arcane looks, though. It's one of the most distinctive things that grabs you immediately, even before the really good stuff it does in terms of story, plot, character, world building, theme. It's the fact that it doesn't quite look like anything else that you're likely to see. So even if the story was a bit naff, which luckily it isn't, you would still say, well, clearly some talent has gone into the creation of this thing.
Yeah.
And you guys, and Andrew and Amateur, you guys have done so much research on this. The animation, just to talk about that again, and how long it took them to do this. Because you guys were mentioning it was like 4 years off and on trying to get this completed.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to nail down exactly how long it took, because like they've been throwing the idea around 6 years before it released, but you get sort of conflicting accounts. Some people said, oh, we can do it in 2 years. Some people say, oh, it took us 4. So it's hard to get an exact timeline, but the fact that they're going to release season 2 when they are suggests that, you know, they can do it in 2 now. But I have a feeling that their animation teams, like Fortiche, is probably much bigger than it was when they started season 1. And, you know, like the crew at Riot Games, like to put like the effort and manpower to put towards it has definitely increased since then. But yeah, it was a big project. But
well, also
they were creating a process really for those 6 years rather than actually working on all the deliverable shots, I guess you could say.
Well, yeah, but it's just so probably easier the second season because you got all your presets and brushes and stuff you've already established and kind of saved and ready to go. Yeah. But yeah, I've always thought it kind of reminds me of what was it, like What Dreams May Come, when he goes to the crazy paint world version of heaven. It's like an animated painting. That's what it looks like. It's cool.
Robin Williams, you're talking about?
Yeah. Looks like specifically like an oil painting or something on canvas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am curious about this mage or this wizard, whatever you want to call him. I like you guys brought it up earlier. Like, is he part of the game? Like, does anyone in the chat know?
Also, like, what are they doing? I mean, there's not really a whole lot of backstory. They're lost in the tundra, and some magician comes and teleports them out to safety, and then he gives him a magic rune stone. It's like, dude, that's like the surest way to make that kid obsessed with magic for the rest of his life. Obviously, like, why?
It's the only thing about the episode that even slightly annoys me, I think, is that introduction. Unless you bring him back in a season 2, and it turns out to have been, in some sense, planned or at least not a one-off. It's the most quick and very, very convenient way to introduce this character and his principal drive in life. What they go on to do with it is excellent. It's just suddenly Wizard is a bit, it sort of rankles a little bit compared to the complexity of everything else.
Yeah,
dude, I would watch that show. Suddenly Wizard, like a sitcom.
I don't think he's a character as much as he's like a force of nature, like something from Lord of the Rings. Like you could compare it to the Valar or something.
Yeah, and who's to say he's
really
not going to show up in
a character?
Yeah, he might show up in a second or later season. You know, who knows? I don't know. It's so cool. It's like I just want more, just a little maybe backstory or explanation, or him showing up maybe later.
Yeah.
Well, it does. I mean, they do good things with it, even within the context of the episode, because obviously it sets up the real first counterpoint between Jayce's perspective and the perspective of Heimlich, because one of them is knows of the mages purely for their destructive capabilities, and this is what, you know, great power leads them to corruption, which ends civilizations. And you know, Jayce is the one who actually has the only experience he ever has with one of these characters. They save his life and bring him immense potential, and he sees the tremendous life-giving power in the arcane magic, which has been denied by pretty much everybody else. So that goes on to set up a really important character conflict. It's the origins of that character conflict.
Yeah,
it's just I really want to see. And I'm not even saying it's necessarily a flaw overall. I think it just depends on whether or not we see more of them in season 2. Because if it is just suddenly Wizard, it's a shortcut to a really good thing. When ideally you don't take shortcuts ever. But if that's the only flaw in an episode, then it's not a bad one.
No, for sure. And like I said, it makes up for it, because specifically this shot, like, I don't know if you could go back 10 seconds and just play this one shot right here. It's so
the flying through space.
There's like the giant celestial magician like putting his hand out, and it's very 2001 here. Yeah. But specifically the shot right after this where you see the giant, you know, magician out in space with the world dissolve into the eye.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Very cool.
Looks great.
I always give animated things a bit more leeway when it comes to, like, I'd say like off base kind of scenes like this, where it's not very grounded in reality, because it's just, it looks stunning.
You know, he kind of does look like Hypnotic, doesn't it?
Like, yeah, I know. When I was watching, I was like, oh, I'm interviewing him. And
cameo.
The thing with this character, and I don't know if it's like intentional or not, it almost he portrays this kind of watcher from like Marvel, where he plays with time and space. And I don't know if, like Platoon said it, I don't know if he's just in there like conveniently for that one piece of the episode, or if he's going to have like any kind of involvement later on. It almost seems like he's possibly going to be involved more, just because he's playing. It's almost like he's putting chess pieces in certain parts of the world here and there because he knows what the future holds for each piece.
Well, that's what wizards do, right? They meddle.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious where they're going to go with this, and if they don't, it's not really a big deal. I'm curious how season 2 is going to go too. So I'm really worried about season 2, to be honest.
I think it's in good hands, but yeah, they got nothing to prove anymore, right?
Fine.
So the Warwick thing scares me because I can't see that working, but all the power to you. Like, bring Vander back as a big werewolf guy.
I don't think.
know.
Did you say werewolf?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like yeah, I know.
I'm into it. I'm into it. Whatever.
So they wake up.
Back.
The mother and son wake up in a different. Is it a different world or a different part of the world?
No, it's the same. It's the same planet.
Okay. And then he leaves this rock with him, which
looks like Austria.
Yeah,
it does.
It does, which is interesting.
I assume this is near Piltover or something. I don't know where this is.
I mean,
also, why was he in the snow? We don't know.
Wizard.
Is Piltover a city or a country?
Yeah.
Or a planet?
Country.
Okay.
Yeah,
I guess.
It's kind of
I'm
like
one
a
of those
city
nerds
state
where it's
type
like,
thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like
I'm one of those nerds where I need to see the map. Like, I need to see how big it is and where it is in relation to this.
Runeterra.
Okay.
Just Google Runeterra.
Yeah.
Well,
it's on there. They have like a full interactive map with all the lore.
Intro.
It's insane. You could spend a fucking
the
day.
intro muted is peak. Mute the intro and it's peak.
Dude, the intro right before he starts singing is fine.
Yeah.
But
oh yeah, the music's dope, and then the music, and then the lyrics come. It's like, ugh, mute.
It's like this weird.
I did rewatch the intro for the first time without skipping it, and I do like all the cool characters, the statues, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I did appreciate it more.
There's like the one
it does grow
visual
on
where it's Vander, and he has powder and Vi in his hands, and then it like zooms out, and it's like it's Silco like completely surrounding him. It's like, oh yeah, good visual.
There's cool stuff in it, but the song kind of wrecks it.
Yeah, that's why you mute Imagine Dragons. You don't have to worry about it.
Sorry, I don't. If you're a fan of Imagine Dragons, more power to you.
Yeah,
I will defend one.
They're very popular for some reason.
The one thing that I like this, I forget this general's name. She's very similar to the antagonist that works with Silco. They're almost like twins.
Right. She's got a way crazier voice though.
Marcus?
No, Marcus is the other guy.
The voice actress is she plays Vasarala in The Expanse and a bunch of other things. I think she's in a couple of the Mass Effect games. So really, really brilliantly distinctive voice. Really odd background. I think she's Iranian, Italian, and about 4 other things as well. Such a distinctive voice, and apparently she doesn't smoke, so I don't know how she got it.
Yeah,
she does a little toot. I'm just kidding. Snorts meth. I don't know. No, she's got a great voice. Reminds me of the lady who did the voice of The Exorcist. Possessed Linda Blair. It's very nice.
I was kind of shocked when they killed her off. Spoilers.
That's next.
Because it was just like, wow. So we're not going to use this voice actor anymore.
Yeah,
it seems kind of a waste to me, but okay.
So we get the introduction to
Victor.
Yes, Victor. We get he's like reading all the documents and journals that research that Jayce has been doing, and he's kind of already has piqued his interest, and then we get into these two talking blah blah blah, then questioning him and just saying like, you're going to be an outcast, you're going to be thrown out of the academy, you're going to be thrown possibly worse, and then
why did your apartment explode, sir?
Yeah,
The scene
I
does a
quite
pretty
like
good job.
Science, I guess, is the line he delivers in response, which is kind of, I quite like it. Like there's little bits of humor sort of scattered around the show, and they never
Yeah.
ever distract from it, and it doesn't really call attention to it either. But they are there, and they add little bits of character. Like Science, I guess, is a pretty neat response, I think, in that situation.
Yeah, because science, man. But
Unintentionally funny as when this little guy comes in and they call him Professor Heimerdinger with a straight face. I was like, I had to pause at this point. He was a lot to absorb. What is his deal?
He's a yodel.
Like I said, this is like
Yodel.
Final Fantasy where I'm just kind of rolling with it. I don't really know what's happening, but it's.
I know
cool.
he's in the game. I know
Of course,
he's in the game.
he has
Yeah,
to
he's
be.
literally the most
Better
annoying
be.
fucking character in the game to fight by far. He sucks. I hate him. He just sets up this fucking cannon and walks away, and it kills everyone. And it's like, but
well,
He's
I like
the
cats
opposite of
and
what he
dogs.
is in the show.
Yeah, I like cats
Yeah.
and dogs, and this guy's like the best of both worlds here. I don't,
he's like an Ewok.
Does he
You know,
use
it's
a
a
litter
little
box?
bit too childish for the tone of the rest of the show.
But it's just it's just crazy because then
I
he
love
walks
him,
in,
dude.
and then Jayce, is that his name? Jayce. He
Jayce.
says his
Jayce.
name.
Jayce.
He says his name, Professor Heimerdinger. Like, I'm sorry, like without even. You got to ease us into this, folks. Like the normies, like myself, who
Yeah.
you got to be like, hey guys, it's
They
just
do it
FYI. There's a
Fairly
weird looking
quickly,
dude.
though, right? So I mean, you can make a fairly similar point if the first time you see, say, Empire Strikes Back, and this is the Yoda effect that comes in. You suddenly think, well, hang on a minute, this is a dark, mature story, and there's this little talking frog guy. But I think they do pretty much the exact same thing with the character to get over that, which is they very, very, very quickly establish this guy, despite his appearance, is the wisest, the eldest, the one with the grandest perspective. He has the world's sort of scaped view, but he's also, in a sense, the most tragic character because he embodies the complete opposite end of the spectrum to Jayce. He's the one who believes that he's seen everything, so believes he knows what is worth exploring and what isn't, what you can control and what you can't. And over the course of the entire show has one of the stronger arcs, I'd say, and that he realizes all of a sudden when he's forced to go away from the ivory tower and down among the people, that he doesn't know everything that he thought he knew. And his story is probably one of the ones I'm more interested in picking up in season 2 to see where he goes from the end of this show. But they take this fundamentally unserious premise for a character and just turn him into this very, very interesting guy.
Yeah, and I like how, like I said, it's like I think the first like 10 seconds of him making his introduction, 20 seconds, I think you're like, okay, well, they're not going to explain what he is, so let's just roll on with Platt. And yeah, his whole thing is like he's giving him advice, like what to say and how to play this meeting. He's basically his like lawyer. I was thinking, I was like, okay, he's here to help the guy. I like it.
They do say that he's like
oligarch.
He's 300 years old, so I'm like, oh, so he knows things. Like he's been through it.
307 to be exact.
The basic thing he says is like, just don't tell him you were doing magic, all right? You just
he's like, hey,
no.
calm down with the magic.
Well, the thing about this character, he's kind of the Obi-Wan Kenobi of this show. The way I look at it, he has all this experience. He talks about it as we go deeper into this episode. But he talks about the past quite a bit, dealing with magic and what he's experienced. So he's kind of got that kind of role, kind of. That's the way I kind of look at it.
Yeah. He's a bit jaded too. Like he's
kind of like
past his
Yoda.
prime. He's got no confidence anymore.
Yoda. That's another.
He's a bit of both,
Yoda specifically in the OT, like not the OT, the prequel trilogy. Except Heimerdinger is smarter than Yoda in the prequel trilogy.
Yeah, Yoda's an idiot in the prequels.
Clouded I
am. Yeah, so we're going through. He's talking to him about how he's just going to plead and say guilty and say that he made a mistake in front of the council. And Jayce kind of is pondering and kind of debating it internally, and then we get to,
I do find
this scene
sort of distracting. Not distracting, but it's the way they're very dogmatic about the use of science. Like, it doesn't really resemble the way science works. Like it's a method in reality. They talk about it as if it's some kind of like force or something, which I don't know. I think
could make sense. I think it could make sense for them because they see magic as a force, and they think, okay, what is a way for the common man to engage in magic, and that's through science and through innovation. So they through their lens, they could see science as this force of power, like the arcane magic is, except everyone can use it, not only the people who were born with it.
True.
But it's also, I mean, it plays off a very real world trope, which is even scientists, though you're right, science is a method, scientists are not. Scientists eventually end up forming their own clerisy, as they've done in the real world quite recently. The number of very famous scientists who've discovered very great things and have then gone on to try and tell other people not to experiment in certain directions. If you'd given Robert Oppenheimer the chance to recreate the atomic bomb, he's more likely to say, no, there are some things you should just leave alone, because science is ultimately not completely separable from philosophy in that regard. Science begins as natural philosophy. Inevitably, questions of ethics arise. And once you become so set in your position, and once you think you've seen everything, once you think you're a wiser cast than everybody else, you take it upon yourself, as Heimerdinger does in this show, to tell other people what is permissible within the bounds of exploration and what is not. The great thing about the show, and the theme I was talking about earlier, is that this is all part of it. You're supposed to have these conversations about it, because neither one of these characters is correct. Now, Heimerdinger is proven wrong, but he's also proven right. But it's only by trying to stop other people from exploring what he himself had the freedom to explore that he frustrates Jayce in particular into experimenting with things that he should probably be leaving alone. So it's kind of a tragic arc in that respect, but I think it's quite a believable characterization.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Also,
Well
like
said.
in real world stuff, like scientists, figure out crazy stuff and make new discoveries, and they get called heretics and blasphemers, and expelled and all that good stuff, because people don't like new earth-shattering information. And also with magic, usually with witchcraft, Salem's witch hunts and all that stuff, it's usually like some kind of magic is communication with the dark world, and you're not supposed to be doing that. You're not, but there's usually some kind of a reasoning as to why it's forbidden. I'm assuming it's something similar in this Arcane universe. The magic is kind of a no-no because of the like kind of what
specifically in Piltover.
Superpowers. It's kind of
something the show does a lot is like you'll have two sides of a conflict, right? Which in this case is Hex Tech, but like both sides are kind of right, but they're also wrong, which is interesting because you get that with Vander and Silco as well. They want to fight for their freedom. They want to establish themselves as sort of like a separate society or independent. And one of them doesn't want the conflict or consequences that come along with it. And it's like, they're both right. It's very interesting. Like I would argue that almost every, like every character sort of pairs up with another character from the other side of the river or other side of the divide, I guess. But like, you can look at their stories the same way. They're both kind of right. It's the way they go about it that sort of defines the character, which is very interesting. And you can sort of see the influence of like the way that the video game itself is structured to where they came about that to create some kind of like balance between arguments and stuff, which is very fascinating. They do it really, really well in this show. It's basically why I made my video about it. But
the social politics about it is the way they go about it is done really well. And getting back to what you were saying earlier, Platoon, about and Stupenzo about the scientists and everything, like that was a reverse, like almost the flipped around with the church against like Da Vinci and all them.
Yeah.
Like, and that's how the Illuminati, that's technically what the Illuminati was. They were believing in science and wanted to explore science, and they were outcast from the church. And we're seeing that here with science being the primary, I don't want to call it religion, but primary state that they believe in.
Right.
And anyone that believes in magic or anything is going to be an outcast. Which is,
but there's that famous saying, magic is just science we don't understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the line that really brings that argument across
I don't
too
like that saying.
is when he's like, it's not just, it's not just a breakthrough, it's revolutionary, right? And it is a revolution. It's going to completely overthrow the power structure, which is another reason why they don't want it. It's not even just the risk to safety, it's the risk to power that it represents, which is, a huge reason why the council's against it.
Well, and then Heimerdinger does mention, we'll get to it when they're in the council there. But right now we're looking at training and you're seeing how she becomes a pretty good fighter. And this is
Yeah, what
this
are those
machine
karate
here.
things with the sticks that the dudes fight with?
Yeah,
It reminds me of like that times like 100.
Yeah.
Like
It's
boxing.
also set up for later as well because you have the scoreboard there, which Jinx, when Jinx becomes Jinx, is obsessed with trying to get to number 1 because
she
it's still her sole frame of reference. Yeah.
Yeah, I also wasn't aware there was going to be another time jump in this show. So like I was like getting all invested in these kids and this arcade, and it's like I didn't realize how it's going to come back later. You know? I was like, wow.
I find this one a lot easier to justify than the one in what's that spin-off? House of the Dragon. That one threw me for a loop. I was like, am I missing an episode? Like what the
Well, because you can animate them and make them look aged, whereas like you got to recast people that look similar enough to where you can instinctively know.
Yeah, and it's like, the kid actors were better. Like shit.
Yeah, you probably have. I assume they have the same voice actor, right, for the young ones as the old ones.
The only one I think that changed was Powder. All the other ones died, so that was easy. But
you're right.
Spoilers, bro. Oh my god. Imagine.
Spoilers, I'm like the Tom Holland of the panel. I'll spoil everything. I do want to mention though the choreography, like just Vi's form when she's fighting the boxing machine is like I've done a lot of boxing that is dead on. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Like she keeps her guard up the whole time. She throws her punches like parallel with her shoulder. She puts her legs into it. Her footwork's perfect. It's like, damn, like they really, really did their homework.
Yeah.
It's very, very good to watch the fights in this, especially later on because they're like older and they're better at
blacklight coloring. When I'll do band posters, I'll do the blacklight color schemes. It's so cool. I love it. And it looks great here. Looks like phenomenal. Hot blues and pinks and yellows and stuff. Highlighter yellow.
My one nitpick with this scene, though, is Powder's way too good at this.
Well, no, I mean, that's the thing. Is like she's so good at the game, and you're like, okay, well, that's going to come into play later. Obviously, she's the best shooter ever.
Well, that leads me to like the bridge scene with Echo, and because she's a sharpshooter, she's hitting everything bang on, and then that's the infamous argument about dodging bullets and everything.
Well, we'll get to that when we get to that.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this seems to be like a free-to-play arcade, and it's like just like how Vi's really good at the boxing game. Powder's really good at the shooting game because they probably just play it a lot. I mean, I got really good at certain video games just because I play them a lot. Not necessarily a gamer, but it's just starts becoming reflexive. Reflexive.
Yeah. You ever seen a South Korean play an MLG? People get pretty good at that stuff.
What's MLG? Is that one of those dance games?
No, Major League Gaming.
Major League Gaming.
I'm a boomer, guys. I was thinking you were talking about the arcade that you dance on, Dance Revolution. Right.
DDR. Yeah, I never got into that.
There's a movie about that game called the FP.
Oh.
It's like a Mad Max type post-apocalyptic world, and people play that game for like, I don't know, some kind of championship. It's very silly. Anyway.
Yeah, this is Marcus, doing his role here, trying to find the 4 kids. They grab this individual here. He, conveniently spits on Marcus's boot. He gets thrown through the glass. Oh, that's right there. And they see the hidden room back here.
I love how his eyes don't line up. The character Marcus? That they throw through the glass.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I believe that's a guy from the bar. I think we see him later at the bar.
I have a feeling that he is the guy that wrote the score. His name's escaping me right now, but he's a young lad, and he looks suspiciously like him, but like cartoonified, and they made his eyes wobbly. It's just pretty funny, but yeah, that might be a cameo from him. Can't confirm though.
Yeah, this is them avoiding the guards, turning off the lights. It's all neon. They're they know this area so well. Yeah.
Shuts Marcus's hand in the jaw of whatever that is.
See, she knew that would happen because someone's had that happen to them before. She's aware of that.
Probably Milo.
Yeah. It's like, oh.
But the color schemes are like looking at it visually, it's done really, really well. Like each scene.
The blacklight stuff's great because you just color it in that specific color palette, but then you give everything this like Gaussian blur haze. How do you say that word? It's blur. It's haze.
Gaussian, Gaussian. I don't know.
Gaussian.
I've only ever seen it written down.
Right. Give everything a nice Nice
I think
glow.
with this, the effect is actually called ambient ambient
L-
occlusion, where
Oh,
it's like the
yeah.
actual atmosphere is capturing the light.
Liminal.
And then we get to the streets, and then Echo lowers the ladder, and they get
Little
away.
man to the rescue. Yeah, you should hide those rocks. Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, and then Marcus like pulls a gun on the kids, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
Marcus, what are you doing, man?
Yeah, Marcus is a real piece of shit.
I hate Marcus so much. He's my least favorite character.
Yeah, he's down there.
Yeah. And then we get to the council. This was done really, really well. I love the visuals for this as well.
It's very Blade Runner, Tyrell Corporation.
Mhm.
Well, it's very Church of the State kind of vibe,
I'm getting
you got the-
Scientology vibes, man.
Yeah, I was just gonna. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Specifically with Mel, there's like a lot of diagonal lines going through the frame, kind of establishing her role as like the most powerful person in Piltover. Like she's always at the top of the frame in like most of her shots.
Yeah.
And the only time that actually changes is when her mother or grandmother comes. I forget which mother. What is when her mother comes to Piltover, and then you see the dynamic completely shift within both the character acting, the dialogue, and also the visuals. Like there's a steep decline in where Mel is positioned in the frame once her mother shows up.
And another thing the show does that a lot of modern shows don't do, which drives me nuts because I'm really bad with names, is when they introduce a character. The other characters say their names multiple times, and they say all the variations of their names and their nicknames at least a couple times, so you can remember what everyone's called. Which is just like, I had to watch the first season of The Bear twice because I didn't know anyone's name, and I'm like, fuck.
That's why I just watch everything
never
with
say it.
subtitles. It just helps me follow everything better.
Yeah.
And also to speak on the introduction of theme, in terms of this episode being the episode that introduces theme, with the theme of control, Mel is specifically talking about like, all right, what's on the docket today for these trials? Like, which one should we care about, and which one should we control? And then while she's talking about the trials, she's also looking for a present for another council member to then control his vote as well.
Yeah. Bribes the Irish councilman with a child's toy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty excellent. And then makes all the other counselors look bad because she's like 10 times more prepared. Just every line and interaction with her in this episode is basically trying to establish how ambitious she is. And
Yeah, there's a lot of shots, especially in the council meeting, where especially at the beginning, she doesn't speak a lot. She's just observing and seeing, how can I win this?
Yeah.
So she's very
Smart people
observant, very
often
careful.
listen first. Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So getting back to this, like we're getting to know the characters, and then we get to, I think it's Caitlin and her family here.
The Caramans.
Yeah. You guys know this. You guys have done videos on it, so you guys can speak on this better than me.
One thing I would like to point out is the mother, the voice actress, is actually the character Caitlin from the game, which is kind of neat.
Oh, neato. I like the painting of the painting. That's always fun.
They simplified their art even
Little
more to make it
extra
look like a
brushstrokes.
painting.
Yeah.
Those little scratches. It's great.
And then we go back to the last drop bar here.
Mm-hmm. And the people are not happy.
No, they want to fight against the upper cities. I forget what's the name of the upper city again. The
Piltover?
Piltover. I can never remember. Topside. I can never remember that. And see, they're challenging Vander here, and then he has to remind them, like, people being lost. Is it really worth it?
Yeah.
And
do I look afraid? No, you look weak, which is actually Savika's only good line.
See what I mean? Similar character, very similar in the face, similar facial structure, everything about this character.
Well, I would say Savika is more similar to Vi, I think, than Grayson. I think there's a lot more parallels between Vi and Savika than there is like Grayson and
I always compared her to Mel, honestly. I
Really?
think there's a lot more parallels there because, well, if you think about it, like the story is also introducing them one after the other, which is definitely done on purpose, but that's not a very strong argument. But like both of their motivations are attached to a person that they have to change at some point. Like Savika is loyal to Vander here, but circumstances force her to pick another person to attach her motivation to. Whereas with Mel, it's very similar. Her motivation was to get onto the council, and her ambition was to get onto the head of the council or to control the council at a greater means. And her sense of motivation, which they give you right away, is, oh, you're the richest person in Piltover, but yet I'm still the poorest Medarda. So her motivation is to impress her family, who basically banished her there. So that's how I would argue that they're the same. Because
Also,
Vi is much more similar to Jayce. Not that those have to be mutually exclusive, but
well, that is part of the character journey that pretty much everyone goes on. So the basic setup at play is the generational divide. You have the old and you have the young, and the old have won this peace, and they are trying to keep this peace. And in trying to keep this peace, they are in various different ways, but in many ways the same ways, absolutely making things untenable for the younger cast and the younger generation. Whether it's the tiger mum who pressures the daughter to live up to family aspirations, who creates her ambition, whether it's Vander trying to restrict Vi and trying to instill wisdom into her that she's not ready for, or Heimerdinger again, restricting the creative and the scientific explorations of a character like Jayce. It's a generational divide, which actually makes the revolution pretty much inevitable, which is the other interesting thing I think about Arcane. There isn't anything you can look at the characters and say, well, if you had done things differently, just you, then none of this would happen and everything would be fine. Because
Jinx needs to stay in the basement, or Powder.
Oh, Jinx staying in the basement, but
the
I think
plot
that's
wouldn't
sort of
even happen.
the plot. But even then,
or even
everything
she
leads
eats
up
a
to that point.
sandwich.
So you can't even that's actually quite a good counter example, because the only reason she doesn't is precisely because Vi has already tried to get her to try and prove herself. She needs to prove herself to Vi, which is one of the reasons she leaves the basement to begin with. So that you can't have an individual isolated choice which sets absolutely everything off. Everything compounds upon itself, and the center can't hold. And that makes it a really, really interesting, quite tragic story, because you can't ever say, well, only one person changing would have made everything peaceful. The point is that this conflict is going to happen, and it has to happen,
exactly.
and there's no way to avoid it.
It's completely inevitable. But sorry, I kind of blanked there. I had a counterpoint there. Couldn't have been that important.
Well, can I also point out there's a little troll in the back, that little toy troll right here?
Oh yeah,
she was the prostitute from the first episode, and I think she eventually becomes the big brothel owner lady. She gets promoted.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Remember, I asked you guys if you would, and you all said no.
Yeah,
You weren't open to
no.
it.
It's still a no.
Yeah.
So yeah,
maybe
we're
trolls would be
seeing
more accepted if I were in this universe, but no.
There's
as
a lot
now.
of these. There's a lot of that in this episode specifically. Professor Heimdinger, that little, lady. There's also the robot guy in this upcoming scene. He's just like, I don't think magic's a good idea, and you're like, what? He's like on my planet. He's like Gearhead from Rick and Morty.
Oh
Just like, what's his story? I don't know. You only see him like 3 more times in the show.
He's definitely a sub character.
Great costume, great design, great voice effects. And you're just like, it's like those little flavorings. Those little spicy, little tasty tidbits here and there make it totally worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
Just that extra effort. Appreciate it.
This is where Echo
spills
tells the
beans.
crew. Yeah, spills the bean, tells them that
shittiest poker player ever.
they've been working hand in hand. And again, I love the contrast between the lower ground to the upper town, the colors, the bright vibrant look.
They get sunlight up there.
Yeah, they get a lot of sunlight. Similar to, like I mentioned before, Blue Eye Samurai, where you see Mizu and what's his name there? Yeah, and they're two different two different worlds, and we're seeing that in Arcane, the two different worlds.
It reminds me of the Fifth Element when they go down to the fog, the bottom area of New York. That's kind of what Dawn reminds me of. Just like deep down, ground level.
Well, Platoon, you're in England, like London and those towns. Like, is that similar? Like, there's very dark, damp, eerie looking areas, and then you have these,
Yeah, although I mean that would be a London of many hundred years ago when we actually built things that looked nice and pretty and had some sense of style. Now the rich areas of London is just big glass spires, and then you go down to street level and everything just looks shit because London's a crap hole. But once upon a time, there's probably Parisian influences that come in as well in I think the architectural style and the color scheme and the general cleanliness of the thing. Yeah, it's a romanticized ideal of an old type city, I think, which maybe it used to exist, but doesn't anymore.
Well, that does track because this is animated by a Parisian company, so it definitely makes sense.
What's up with all these modern houses just looking like big glass cubes?
Architects have no imagination.
I don't like it.
Dude, listen, concrete, steel, and glass, the cheapest materials to make anything with.
Also reusable to a point.
Yes, that's true.
Was that in this show where they use that quote, or am I thinking of something else where they were talking about concrete, steel, and glass?
I don't think
that was the show.
No, it's not this.
They mentioned stone in the first song intro.
You guys have been watching so many movies and TV shows; it's all blurring together in a big haze.
Well, you're the one that wanted to watch every Godzilla movie ever made.
Yeah,
it was fun. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would.
This guy, it's his birthday. She's giving him the child's gift. And then you see the other counselor.
Oh, you find out he's got a deadly nut allergy. No offense to anybody on the panel who might have that, but damn.
He also doesn't figure out that puzzle by like the end of the frickin' series. He's still trying to figure it out, which is like 7 or 8 years later.
Yeah, he's also
see what I mean? The facial features, everything's exactly the same as the other character.
Who are we comparing her to?
Yeah.
Savika, a bit different. A lot like skin tone's darker on Savika's. Savika's eyebrows are less strong. Savika is more feminine looking, whereas Grayson is very masculine. She's very handsome.
You find Savika feminine looking?
Well, comparing both of them, she's the most feminine of the two. Sure. She like. Her like body build is different. She's more lighter. Whereas Grayson is very, very built, very swole. She looks like an officer.
Well, she is in uniform, which definitely helps. She carries herself differently too. Savika sort of like does like the more gorilla shoulders, whereas Grayson's like shoulders back, chest out. Yeah, that's another thing about the animation in here. The characters all carry themselves differently, which is interesting.
So this, you're seeing, it's almost like a dome. Everything closes in. You see the sunlight disappear, giving it that ominous look. And then, the spotlight's on Jayce here. And the council's asking questions. And he's, pleading that he's guilty of experimenting with tools that he should not be experimenting with. And
it's Jada.
Yeah. This scene's kind of, it is what it is. It's kind of just leading to the point where, he's gonna, buck the system and say, I want to experiment with magic. Like it's all leading to that.
He convinces Victor, and he also convinces Mel, which is pretty.
Well, it's not that he's not
to climb higher.
I wouldn't say after this point he still wants to pursue magic, but the real point is that he's been completely humiliated in front of everyone that he knows and loves. Like his mother even says, he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah,
and he's kind of being put down by everyone. Yeah. And when he goes home, he pretty much says, well, if my family won't support me, I will find someone who will. And then he goes to the Caramans and he talks to Caitlin, but they have also abandoned him. He is now an outcast. And then at the end of the episode, it's to the point where he decides that he's going to commit suicide until Victor goes into the room and kind of just says, "Hey, how's it going?"
Well, if you think about it too, all of those like sort of interactions based on, you know, this council meeting and the sort of like terms that they come up with, it's very thematic for the show, because like the mother, she's got two decisions to make, neither of which are good, and they both have cascading effects. You know, Heimerdinger has one as well. It's just these impossible decisions that have this huge impact on the story. Jayce has one, Victor has one, Mel has one. You know, it's all very, very thematic, very well thought out.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the scene is maybe a bit weaker, I thought it was kind of neat, especially the sound design, because it really sounds like the room that they're in, which is something that's definitely not easy to do.
Yeah.
There's a
Also
lot
the
of
lighting.
amazing sound
Good
design,
lighting.
which I think gets underappreciated. Yeah, and lighting.
The lighting's done really well, especially with Heimerdinger here. Like his eyes, and then you see the light. The rendering's done really good.
Yeah, the one shot that really stands out for me though is at the end of the meeting when the doors are reopening and Jayce is sort of off to the side, like looking away, and like everything's being relit again. It's a very nice composition. Hopefully we land on it.
Yeah,
well,
this gives the feeling of humiliation, because that's pretty much what he's just gone through, and abandonment. Like he is now going back into the world, but not welcomed. He is now banished, pretty much from
the academy, though.
Yeah, he wasn't banished from Piltover, which was his original sentence, but he has been banished from what Piltover stands for, which is innovation in science.
Yeah, well, he's been banned from doing what he wanted to do the most. It's basically like his purpose, so you might as well kill him. Right? That's basically what they're trying to say, which is pretty believable. I think this is like the strongest part for his character, really.
It sets up and it shows just how powerful his ambition is. And it's not ambition in sort of the cold, calculating political sense. It's very fervent ambition. It's born from his very first scene in this episode. But it again foreshadows, because you have the later moment where it's he who insists on carrying on, even as Victor says maybe we should stop. Although one of them's life is actually at stake. The other one isn't. But Jayce is so very, very caught up in this beautiful vision that he has that he will never ever let it go.
Yeah, and Victor, that definitely resonates with him, is why it sort of like convinces him to, go to seek those greater ends, right? Like, 'cause he's almost already jaded, right? Like, he doesn't really want to move on further because of the amount of pushback that he was getting, but he sees how ambitious Jayce is, and it convinces him, right? That's why he is there to stop him from jumping off the building.
Well, everything has piqued his interest, like from the get-go, right?
Yeah,
So
there's cutaways. There's cutaways in this scene where you see Victor and he's thinking about what Jayce is saying.
Yeah.
And kind of giving it a second thought.
Yeah, well, Jayce comes clean about the magic because, they're asking him, what kind of results do you have? He's like, nothing really, but he's trying to argue that, his stuff is revolutionary. He's like, well, if you don't have any kind of, hard data or any kind of something worth showing. And he's just kind of like, well, I'm doing magic. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be worth something. But they tell him, you find out that the reason why we don't do magic, like Gearhead and Heimerdinger say, it's like, yeah, I mean, apparently magic has been used before, and it's laid waste to many a civilization in this, universe.
Well, this is the part where Heimerdinger talks about. I just want to quickly mention before I talk about this, the secondary light in his eyes is done excellent here. Like, people don't realize, like, the light source, like the sunken in eyes for this creature, but the secondary light source, like the reflection of the light in the eyes, is done perfectly here. I just wanted to point that out.
It always matches the source too, which is cool.
Yeah, which as an artist, you just sit there and you just kind of marvel at those little nerdy things. But Heimerdinger here talks about he's been through it. He's 307 years old. He's seen magic before, and it becomes a selfish, possessive source, and it's not the most pleasant thing to have in the world because it just creates evil amongst men. You guys want to talk about this at all? Jump in, but that's what he's talking about here. I love this. I love this shot right here. This little portrait right here.
Well, it's a very applicable kind of not really. I don't think you can call it a theme. I guess it is a theme, but like, you know, you could sub in all kinds of things like nuclear energy or, you know, whatever kind of existential threat or conflict. It could be communism or whatever, you know. It's just, it's a very applicable sort of conflict that they've set up here, and it sort of shows, like, it gives more like, it sort of grounds his more conservative view of magic. Like, it gives him a better reason for having the position that he does.
It's the conflict of visions as well, because you have the figure in the middle of that, almost like the painting style shot, the previous shot, which is it's very, very similar to the one that Jayce himself sees at the beginning of the episode, but in a completely different context. One gives life and one lays waste. And both of these characters are formed by experiences they didn't really have any hand in. So there is no reconciliation there. As much as they're both nice people and good people, you can't get over such a profound conflict of vision. Yeah,
and you have this young, sort of altruistic perspective who's very, you know, excited to learn more, very curious, very, very high energy. And then you have this old, jaded, conservative, wise, you know, learned person who's just, you know, you don't know what you don't know, man. Leave it alone. I've been down this road, trying to teach them lessons that they're not ready for, like you said before. Someone said
the Marx thing there was is an EFAP meme, but it's kind of true though, because Arcane's theory of revolution is Marxian fundamentally. It's a product of social conditions. It is not something which is actually, but Marx was himself very critical of people who tried to engineer revolutions prematurely because he believed that they were the natural outgrowth of human behavior. He disdained revolutionaries. And this show takes a pretty similar approach to that. It's not something that people consciously choose to do. This is purely the product of your social conditions, and there's nothing you can do to change it. It will happen as inevitably as the sun rising tomorrow morning. So yeah, it's a meme, but it's also kind of true. There's some interesting stuff there.
It is kind of true, but you know, when you start throwing around words like Marxism, you're gonna get all kinds of opinions.
Most of the people who throw around terms like Marxism have never read Marx either, so it's.
I haven't read Marx, so I can't comment too much. But
what's reading? I don't even know what that is. What's with this robot guy? Like, what are your guys' thoughts on this?
Gearhead.
Gives me
cool character design.
Techno Union vibes from Star Wars.
Oh, the guy who tunes the dials on his chest and then starts speaking.
That's what I was thinking of.
Tweaks his nipples to get resonance.
Yeah, dude. I'm pretty sure this guy does it too. I think he tweaks his nipples or his neck. I don't know.
Do you think he's needed in this? Like, because like I'm watching this.
It's a council member.
Yeah.
He's the one who says, isn't it, that magic almost destroyed my people? Right. So that he's there to give one extreme of the positions that are taken on magic. I'd like to have seen again more of him, and maybe we will see more of his people in season 2. But I think he's really just there for like this narrative purpose.
We'll see him caked on the wall.
He's context tool number 3.
This is where Jayce's mother pleads with the council. That he has to.
It says, "My son is stupid."
yeah.
Please forgive him, General Grievous.
Yeah. And also look at my fingers for continuity.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, her fingers have a
robot fingers now.
Yeah,
or prosthetic or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like a cover. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, she got a little bit of the Canadian nip.
Little finger gloves.
This shot, I love this shot.
Yeah, that shot's good.
This one right here.
Yeah, this is the shot I was talking about. I really like the composition of it, especially as it's opening and the very subtle camera move. It's very nice. And
like Mike Mignola was really good at this, doing light, like using light reference in his black and white art. This is done brilliantly. Like the sunlight coming through, and you're seeing like I'm pointing at it like you guys can see it, but this part right here, the light, you know, the primary light coming off here, but then you get like I mentioned, the secondary light sources coming off and bouncing off, and you can see he's not totally blacked out. You can see his face a little bit. You just get a hint of it.
It doesn't even look like animation. It looks like photography.
It's really, really well done. And we saw that again in Blue Eyed Samurai as well. They did that really well. And someone mentioned like they're both French companies.
You got Blue Spirit. Blue Spirit and Fortiche, both in Paris, France.
That's not easy to do. That's a lot of work planning out, like thumbnailing this and
Yeah,
drawing it all out.
it would be easier if they did it in like Unreal Engine and just put some
just
light boxes, some volumetric light
Yes.
boxes.
Spawn
and
a
turn them
light
around. They didn't
source,
though.
drag.
They friggin' drew it.
Yeah,
Yes.
they drew all the
Crazy.
lighting. I don't even know. I don't even believe that. They
I don't
said it.
either, but I have to keep
They
looking
still-
it up because it's like, is this fucking true? And then you watch the time lapse of Buddy drawing it, and you're like, good lord.
I still don't believe it. I'm
Okay.
like, I don't believe you. You're lying to me.
I still think it's mocap, but it's not. So I don't know.
Hostman watching a movie and a stream about a show, that's not
Yeah.
a movie at the same time. How?
That's
Are
great.
they doing that?
Hostman be Hostman. Didn't he change his name and then change it back? What's up with that? People doing that.
Don't ask. Don't question his method.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah,
Listen,
don't-
let him
don't-
cook.
don't-
All right.
Just let him
Yeah.
cook.
Yeah.
There we get Marcus. He's meeting up with my favorite character. I love the antagonist, Silco.
He comes out of this
Uh,
wall that's like has crawling like little tentacles coming out of it. It's like,
Yeah,
Marcus, do you think this guy's good? Like,
Getting Halo Flood vibes, man.
I mean, he does have an evil eye, you know.
yeah, and
Yeah,
he
no.
only shows you the evil eye. It's like, Marcus, what are you doing, man?
He could have chosen
Yeah.
an eye that looked normal. He chose that eye, you know, to specifically like glow red and look scary, you know.
Marcus just
So-
wants to start shit like the whole first act. That's all he's interested in.
Yeah, I hate.
I
Marcus
love the
so much.
I love the costume designs. I really, really
Oh,
dig
yeah.
them.
Mhm.
Like I said in the first episode, the animations, the style is very simple, but it's done. The color, the palettes are done excellent. The way
Yeah.
they're doing the shading, the rendering of the face.
There's also a
Um,
shit ton of detail, which you don't
tons.
normally get in animation.
But like it's as an artist, you do that with like hatching or cross hatching, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
To bring out that 3D mold of because it'll look very flat. They use their colors, like and you see that in comics and you see that in animation. They just rely on the colors to do a lot of that now. But
Like when I do shadows on digital, I just do a black, soft black, and just lower
Yeah.
the opacity until it looks right, you know.
mhm.
And it's just it work. And then you can also set it on different layer, like blending modes for your highlights. You know, put hard white, and again, you mess with your blending modes and your opacity, and you'll get the highlights too.
Yeah.
So much easier digitally. You know, that's why I was saying on the first episode, like some of these paintings, these backgrounds, you'd be shocked how fast people can put stuff down like that. You know, these digital
Mhm.
backgrounds, like
Yeah.
you can draw this kind of stuff in like an hour
Yeah.
or two.
But looking at something like this shot, the other thing that helps sell this stuff too is there's a lot of post processing going on. Like when they blur the background or they bump up some of the highlights, stuff like that, or they add ambient occlusion. So like the light source is bleeding off into the air around it, which is super
Yeah.
important for depth. It elevates it, and then they put these particles flowing
Oh,
through some of the scenes
yeah.
that add even more depth. But
This
like
this
shot
shot-
right here. Yeah, this shot.
the amount
right
you have
here.
to understand about optics, like they even get the freaking color shift of like
The
the edge of the
glass.
glass, where there's like an
Mhm.
angle on the edge of the glass, and how that's creating like a prism effect on the wall. It's just like they didn't have to do that. No one would have noticed, but they did it, and it's like, damn, that's really cool, man.
I also like the stove, like heater oven in the corner for heating
Yeah.
his room. I
Everything's
thought that was a nice touch.
steampunk, you know,
Yeah.
until the hex tech comes around. And by the way, hex tech is one of the coolest words ever.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like one of the biggest things is like how are you introducing your technology and how does your world work? And I thought the show did really well because like I don't usually like steampunk or high fantasy elements, but this show nailed
I
all
got
of
a
them.
lot of raver Burning Man friends who are like, you know, obsessed with steampunk. It's just like, ugh.
I do like
Tank
steampunk,
Girl.
but I haven't seen it done this well ever before.
Yeah.
I'm not like obsessed with it, but I do
There's
like the
this
idea.
and
of it.
Bioshock and what are some other good ones? I mean,
BioShock was great.
Mortal Engines. I didn't watch that. You know,
It was
whatever.
okay.
Don't watch that film.
I know.
Read
Mortal
the books.
Engines.
The books are really good.
That is
The film
steampunk,
is
right?
really not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
But like,
The
I-
visuals
I-
were good, but the
Ooh,
story
Wild Wild
is
West.
fucking
Yeah.
brutal.
That's steampunk.
even then, I didn't think the visuals were like I said. That film was. I hadn't read the books. I watched the film first.
Okay.
This is really, really shit. But I like the idea. I wonder what the books are like. You can build a much better steampunk world in your mind from
Right.
reading those books than you will ever get from that
Yes.
film.
Right. It seems like one of those things that would be hard to like film, when you're reading about it.
Well, certainly they were kind of hamstrung because it was Peter Jackson originally supposed to do it, and then he thought, "Sod it, I'm going to go do 1917. Have my chief VFX artist from Weta. He can direct his first film ever," and it didn't go well.
Yeah, I didn't finish it.
Well,
I do like this scene with his mother because he says magic saved your lives. Why don't you care anymore? And she's like, yeah, but it can't save you now.
Yeah.
And Jayce is kind of like, well, I don't care. I still want to study it.
Yeah, it's
and
like
he's very
Spider-Man.
set.
Magic should only save you once. Don't be relying on it all the time. I mean, plus we were kind of like in a tundra. I mean, again, we don't.
Yeah,
really
we were
find out
literally
why they were there.
like the society in the snow, and then we were saved.
Well, why were they walk? That the question is, why were they walking in the snow by themselves? Were they running from something? Were they
father?
Says it in the
from
script?
something?
I don't think so.
It probably says
No.
it in the script.
Does
Either
father's
way.
absence have something to do with them being lost in the snow?
Yeah, we never see the dad. He's supposedly running a hammer business, which we never see him. I never really thought about that, if I'm honest. Maybe they just decided they had too many fucking characters.
Jeez. Fatherless behavior. That's his whole pursuit of magic.
But he wouldn't be. So that would be like a stepfather, right? Because he was running through the snow with his mother, not the father. So how would the father have got from, unless they were coming back to the city from some snowy place?
Right.
They would have
Father,
had to,
like
she'd have
maybe
to meet
father
him
was the
there.
pilot of the plane that crashed in the snow. I have no idea. But it's okay. Like I said, I'm just rolling with it, there's plenty going on already in this show.
Yeah, it's also
you have to
understandable.
overanalyze to even see that one, but
It's also understandable why his mother doesn't really care about the magic because she didn't see it.
Right.
She
That's
was
the other thing.
she was
unconscious.
So he saw it. He saw all of it. If she was awake, it'd be like, this thing saved your wife, saved your life, and pretty much blew you away. You saw something that was incomprehensible.
That's kind of like the big problem about giving him the little stone as like a little gift. Now it's physical evidence that this happened, and it's not in your head, and kind of gives him this whole reasoning to do this life pursuit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like the Bill Murray thing.
Yeah,
Walk up to someone's table randomly, just touch their food and said, "No one's gonna believe you," and then walks away.
They would believe me because you apparently do it all the time, Bill.
Yeah.
Well, that's my other question. Why did she collapse first before the child?
Well,
she carried the boy.
I have a lot of questions. I watched this.
The spoiled child made her carry him.
She's a woman, right? She's just weaker. What can I say? It's
beta women. Giga Chad Jayce doesn't fall in the cold.
Yeah, dude.
Stays strong.
Women just can't sleep in the snow like we men can.
Imagine.
I got
there's a story there that I want to know.
In caves, man.
Well, all the women in Society of the Snow died, so maybe there's something to it. I don't know. My sister's a biologist. I'll ask her. Do women
is she allowed to do field
cold?
work in the snow?
Well, women are constantly complaining about the temperature of the room at the workplace and stuff.
For real. So dude, okay, side tangent. But I went on the summer camp trip. And all right, this was Colorado. All right. The peak of the heat of the summer. And the guys' cabins were so hot. To the point where I woke up the first night I didn't have a sleeping bag, so I just slept on the rubber mat that was the bed. And
sticky.
when I woke up I had to peel myself off. And then we go down, we eat breakfast, I talk to some people, and I hear some girls complaining that it was too cold in their room, and I'm like, what do you want, man? Shut up.
Yeah, I've worked at a summer camp. You switch to bed sheets really fast. Sleeping bags suck.
I knew some goth chicks that would keep their house set to 60, 59 degrees. I'm like, dude, what is your AC bill like?
Crazy.
In the summer. My God.
They save money by keeping the lights off.
You're single-handedly draining the grid,
Yeah.
So yeah, this is where we're seeing Heimerdinger and Victor going through the journals, placing everything, I guess, into getting ready to be destroyed. And Victor is like looking at the books, and he kind of just takes one here.
Never destroy research.
There's some pretty wild stuff in these books, man.
Never
and
destroy
here's,
research.
Again, my favorite character in the series, Silco.
What's the stuff called again? Shimmer?
Shimmer, yeah.
Yeah.
Shimmer.
Purple magic goo.
Hex Tech and Shimmer.
Yeah, they're two different things. I do like, this evil layer with the evil giant monster fish outside. Like, you never ever see like some normal, suburban blue collar family living in a place like this.
Yeah.
With like, there's never like good people living in some kind of underground, subterranean basement with a view of giant sharks. Also, I don't know. I'm one of those guys where I wouldn't like those giant fish swimming so close to my giant glass window. I don't know.
Living on the edge, man.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that I actually took a little while to get sold on Silco as a character, precisely because his introduction is very kind of just cliche mustache twirling villain.
Right, Mr. Dr. Evil.
I wasn't sold on him until he kidnaps Vander and they have that conversation. I'm like, oh man, this is way more complicated. Dude, his intro in the next episode, we'll get to it, but like,
and then
fuck.
the attachments as well that he forms later in the show, which are not purely exploitative, they're also quite genuine. So like they have to, in a sense, undo a fairly bad first impression, but they manage it, which is again one of the wonderful qualities of this show. In this sort of early stage, I think he's really just supposed to be sort of the avatar for chaos. If you've got this cloistering, suffocating sense of order above, and this is the guy who's going to throw all the spanners in all of the works, and that's really all he's there for at the moment. I'm really glad that they actually give him a character after this, because I was not very happy at the beginning.
Well, his scene right here, his monologue about what it takes, to get absolute power or whatever.
Real power doesn't come from those who are born the strongest, the fastest, or the smartest. No, it comes from the people who will do anything to achieve it.
Good backstory motivation.
That's the ultimate source of corruption, really. But I would argue that Silco is like the narrative opposite of Vander, because they're like, they both have completely opposing views for how to move forward with like their societal conflict. Like one's willing to do anything to achieve power, whereas one is like literally willing to die to protect the ones he loves. One's willing to kill while the other one's willing to sacrifice. It's just it's completely opposite. Like their motivations are in opposition to one another, but.
Silco surrounds himself with monsters.
Their objective is the same, but they go about it in completely different ways. It's just showing you how like these I'm struggling to try to think of this word. These like opposite characters and how they interact.
Philosophies. Their philosophies are very different. Silco is very much let the monster out. I mean, he says it in the scene. Take advantage of the monster that you can make. Like this is why he's so obsessed with Jinx, is because he's just in awe of this monster that's become of her. Whereas Vander with Vander sees the monster, or like he sees an old, like a younger version of him in Vi, and that's what he wants to stop. He's very much acknowledged the monster exists, but control it and become a better person because of it.
He's like the Jordan Peterson, whereas this guy's like the Andrew Tate.
True. Bro.
Dude, that's not my thought. Someone pointed that out the other day. I was like, fuck, that's actually perfect.
I was gonna say like Mr. Rogers is like Vander, but Mr. Rogers, Andrew Tate.
and I was just gonna say, like, Silco literally surrounds himself with monsters. Like he's literally living that world. Like he's
obsessed
everything.
With
yes, I love it.
He sees Zahn as that. We'll get to it when the finale happens, but when he says, Jinx, don't cry, you're perfect, he sees her as like this perfect version of Zahn. Just chaos.
Yeah. The ultimate exploiter of daddy issues.
And then we have Singe here.
Gives him a little nod, like, go on, drink it.
Yeah, drink
it.
Do it.
Drink the Kool-Aid.
Shot.
Yeah.
So this guy drinks it down, and then we kind of
He gets like reverse psychology into poisoning himself, with werewolf serum.
I love how manipulative Silco is. It's just like, you want to be somebody and you're going to have to drink this shit. But he like sets that up on top of like his speech about, how to become powerful. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's the other old adage about revolutions eating their young, which is literally what is happening in this scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, if your policies result in children dying, it's bad policy.
Well, not so fast. No, I'm just kidding.
It depends on the children.
Yeah. Well, what children are we talking about here? Whose children? What?
And I love this scene here, like
It's just
the doorway. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get to Jayce, and we see him with Caitlin. And then
I want that umbrella.
His mother has abandoned him. Now he's going to his last hope, which were his founders, or his counselors, I guess. People who funded his
some of these establishing shots, like for him, like walking in the rain next to a park. There's a fence with some plants with rain falling on them. Like just those shots like that are like, why do they look so awesome?
Phenomenal.
Like, why?
Yeah.
There's like a focus shift at one point when he gets up to the gate, and it's just like, dude, nice.
I actually have a reel of just all my favorite shots from this show that I may or may not post one day for fun. Because there's a lot of just amazing things that don't even look like they're animated.
Oh no, it's like the joke that I think someone made it. I forget, but they went through every episode, just grabbed a random still, and then tweeted my favorite shots in Arcane. And then like a week later, he just said, "Just kidding. These are just 8 random shots that I got from the show."
Yeah, this is a good sequence here of Jayce just feeling alone. This mother is the ultimate bitch.
You know what? I think I figured out
clout
this animation
chasing
reminds me of. You ever play the Wolf Among Us game based on the Bill Willingham's Fables? It's like that, but like heavily, way better textured. But that's kind of what it reminds me of. This like 3D cell shading kind of. I love it.
Sorry, what's it called?
Wolf Among Us. It's based off of Fables, some video game.
Willingham's doing Fire and Ice right now.
Yeah,
which is great.
Nice.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that game. I haven't played it though.
Okay, Phil agrees.
This shot kind of makes me laugh. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm like, come on. Like they're all.
That guy has like serious alcoholism belly.
Yeah,
this is like
belly's all swollen like that.
Like look at them. They're all so different. I really like this shot actually.
Yeah,
I
kind of dig it.
Kind of stereotyping.
It's a little Futurama-ish.
Well,
on the one side you have this like shapely woman in this beautiful dress, and then like on the left you just have like beer gut.
Yeah.
Well, I like
and then you
sassy
have
lady
C-3PO.
with her hip out, and her arms folded, like she means business.
With that fucking collar, that thing's got to be so annoying. This thing just clicking beneath your head all day.
Listen,
I also
the rich
like
will do
David
anything
Bowie.
to look dripped. All right.
It's true.
David Bowie guy over here, toward next to Robot Dude, Gearhead.
Yeah, he's like halfway between
Forget
Bowie
about
and
that.
like Mercury. Freddie Mercury.
Well, it looks like one of those fashion reality
God.
shows where they're just like all posing.
Modern runways
you
shows.
You got like whatever their names are, like the top model, whatever their name is, like that.
Tyra
Just
Banks.
Tyra Banks, thank you.
Oh,
That's what it looks like. It just looks
One
like
of my
they're all kind of
favorites.
like they're just posing. It's like, come on, this is a little cheesy here.
Dude, me and my
Well,
girlfriend
it's
watched them.
kind of it's for the contrast, isn't it, with the preceding scene with Silco? So like this is supposed to, I guess, demonize or to villainize the upper caste. You can understand why people want to eat these rich people, and they also embody in their own individual ways like one thing that's wrong with the society in which they live. You've got arrogance, you've got like over conservatism, you've got idiot over promotion, you've got sort of very, very hyper ambitious people. Like every single one of them embodies some characteristic of this regime that you can look at and think, yeah, you know what, this is shit, and I can completely see why they want to rebel against it.
Yeah. I like how you mentioned that though. They each represent like a different fault of the leading class, as it were. Like, you got the aristocrat, the power hungry, the corrupt. It's pretty interesting.
You could even say the 7 deadly sins could be put in here.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Maybe.
There's 6 of them.
Yeah,
Well,
there's 6 of them.
Heimerdinger's 7th.
Oh yeah. What would his sin be? Being too
Being too old. Get him out of here, bro.
cuddly.
Yeah.
Too old. He's a boomer. Get him out of office.
Too old for
Amen.
this shit.
Um, yeah,
It's so hard not to like pet Dr. Heimerdinger, like
Dude,
tussle his head.
him
and
getting kicked off the council is like one of the most traumatic scenes. It's like, oh, why?
Oh,
And his
Oh,
little
he
face
looks-
like shrivels up and
He
wiggles
looks
and
so
wobbles.
sad.
I wonder what he
know.
looks like shaved. Is that an intrusive
Ugh,
thought?
or wet.
That is a
oh wow, let's not go down that.
Balder
I mean,
dinger.
like,
Someone
you know how a cat
draw
or
it.
dog looks
Someone who
totally
could
different when you
draw
give it a
that.
bath.
Balder dinger.
Balder.
So this part here, like she's giving a report on status of looking for the kids and stuff, or the
robbers.
4 individuals, and then Marcus kind of makes a point here, but like he's kind of breaking the code, isn't he? Like he's
Well, Marcus is unaware of the deal that she has with Vander, right?
well,
Everyone's
not
unaware.
only that, but like she's the general, and he should just be keeping his mouth shut here. He shouldn't be
Agreed.
speaking, saying anything. So
Yeah,
that is a
get
weird
back-
take.
Well, I think Grayson calls him out because she looks at him and is like, "Hey, shut up!" Like,
Yeah.
She's also
while
kind of
he's
grooming
talking.
him to like replace her eventually. I would
Yeah.
imagine. So,
Well,
you know, sticking your neck out and saying something stupid and getting like reprimanded for it's part of the job. But
yes,
yeah,
Jamalama. Mel is very hot.
But you also get
Yeah.
the other part, which is, she's the direct parallel with Vander, and he is as frustrated with her as Vi is, for example, with Vander. The older characters represent this staid conservative ideal, and the younger characters all know that there's some muddy compromise being made, and they all believe that they could do a much better job if they were just allowed off the leash for a bit. So like he's ambitious and he wants to overcome her in the same way that Vi is in a sense ambitious and believes that she can beat Vander at the game that he's set up and rigged effectively. And all of these parallels that run throughout the show just make it endlessly fascinating.
and the interesting part too, just to jump off that, is like all of those sort of choices that they make when they do get off their leash, so to speak, have these like cascading effects that affect the entire plot. Like when Marcus goes down and does what he wants, he arrests Vi, which in effect creates Jinx, which becomes his main issue and problem, and the main source of conflict for him as a character moving forward, into Act 2 and 3, which is very interesting, which affects everyone, and you can say that about like basically every character and every character interaction. Once they try to do what they want or they try to achieve their goal, there's just always a cascading effect. Every action has bad consequences.
I think the big thing is like, because there's rumors of magic causing that explosion, head's got to roll. Someone's got to be made an example of. So you got to find somebody.
Somebody's got to go to jail.
Someone's got to take the heat, either Vander or his kids or someone. And like, all of Vander's buddies want to go to war, which never a good idea.
And again, you can sympathize with
around
everyone's perspective. All of them are right, are like correct in their own right, or like moral. Like, I don't really know if you can make a good moral argument for every one of them, but you can understand why they want to do what they want. You can sympathize with basically every position, which you don't see very often. Like sympathize with everyone? Maybe sometimes. Like, can you sympathize with both the villain and the hero? Almost never, but they do it here really well.
What does Vander eat down here in Zon to maintain this physique?
Alcohol. It's just alcohol.
Okay.
That's all you really need.
All right.
6 dozen eggs
Not
or some
beer.
shit, probably.
Drink your dinner. I get it.
So now we're seeing
And-
Marcus
And weed or tobacco or whatever he's smoking.
It's like, I don't think there's any protein shakes going on down there. And we're in Zon, boiled chicken and egg whites.
It's on a liquid diet, yeah.
Yeah.
A monkey.
it's protein weed, put it that way.
Mm.
So they've been warned that Marcus is there. This is a really great scene between Marcus and Vander.
I do
Marcus
like that
is
scene because Marcus
he's trying
thinks
to
he's so fucking cool. But
he's trying to
doing
swing a big.
everything wrong.
He's trying to swing a big dick here, and he's just like,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do about this? Like, I got all the power here, buddy.
And this, and like going back to my point before, he's not wrong. It's just he's unaware of the magnitude of the shit storm that's happening around him, which is just great.
Yeah.
He's
And
so
he's just
fucking
stupid.
arrogant.
Yeah.
He's like textbook arrogance. It's almost like art.
And he's like, I'm gonna bury the lot of you, and I'm just like, all right, buddy, calm down.
Yes, dial the Aussie down a bit.
Leave already.
I'm gonna bury you here.
Very simple art here, and again, the light references. Very simple art, but done and placed very well.
Yeah, it's probably the most
Vander.
low detail thing is his beard.
Yeah, well, even the eyebrows, right? The eyebrows are very simple. The facial, like the line work, is very simple, but again, it's all the coloring that's
Kind of
done
look like
to
my eyebrows.
contour
mine
the
are bushy.
face, and
Yeah, they achieve most of their depth with color, which is really cool.
yeah. And so then, yeah, Marcus is thinking he's going to find something. We see everyone up in the rafters, and of course, it's Powder, slipping, and again, indicating she's the screw up. This guard was really cool. I like the guard.
They're the coolest stormtroopers ever.
Yes, you took the words right out of my mouth. They are very cool looking stormtroopers. And the flashlight scene is done really well too. The average person doesn't realize how hard it is to do light sources when it comes to animation or art, and the way they go about it in this animation, it just blows my mind. That's why I love this.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I think a lot of people assume it's CG, and they just sort of totally take it for granted, and it's just like, yeah, but if you're drawing this, like, yeah, there's a lot of post-production stuff going on, like that lens flare is absolutely done in Nuke after the fact. Like all the focus pulls and camera moves and stuff, that's all done in post. But like, whenever that flashlight hits a surface, where it's hitting has to be recolored frame by frame, to illuminate what's being illuminated, right?
Well, hang on. Like a hostman just said, like the Merchant of Venice reference. It's like the Merchant of Venice, like a thing on this world? Like, is this Earth?
No.
No. Okay. All right.
No, it's
the,
definitely
the
high
reference
fantasy.
was just
coincidental.
Grayson saying
Pound
the
of
console
flesh.
needs their pound of flesh. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, and also the other thing that's like a whatever horny bullfrog whiskey that he's offered that is highly flammable and volatile. Because usually it's like open flame. We'll light some liquor on fire, but like the fact that I can drop like some ashes into it and just like have it burn for like minutes,
and the flame's fucking blue, which means it's really hot.
That's some strong hooch. That's what he says. He's like, but that's the thing is he offers him a real drink, and then Marcus never really drinks it, does he?
Yeah, Marcus.
Give me the strongest shit you got.
Yeah, and Marcus is like,
all talk. I don't really like doing shots. I don't really like drinking straight liquor. That hurts. Get to acid reflux.
Then you're drinking the wrong liquor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Jameson and ice with water. That's what I like a lot.
Jameson's all right. You ever tried Buffalo Trace? That stuff's amazing.
Yeah. I just shots. I don't know. I think I did too many shots when I was younger. No more anymore.
Occasionally as you with the suspense. So yeah, getting back to it. Let's I guess you want to call it Uzo that's been lit on fire here. Kind of scene because Marcus is pissed off and he leaves because he didn't find anything, and then we get Vi, discussing with Vander about the whole situation between.
Vander says, "I've heard this talk before."
Yes,
it's kind of like the scene from episode 1 where he's like, "All right,
yeah." But this is like, okay, now I actually have to do something about this. Let's go back to the bridge. We need
bunny reference.
Yeah, this blows me away. This
bunny theory.
I don't know the bunny theory. I feel like a fucking normie.
I don't know. Hey,
I gotta research it, I guess.
You feel like me? Is that what you're trying to say? But yeah, you're right. There's a bunny. You said that the bunny is a big thing.
It is a big thing. I don't know the theory though.
And I don't know if this
blow our mind on like week 10.
Is this intentional with the tear coming from the eye here? Like
probably.
Well, right now what you're hearing from the sound is like pandemonium, basically. Like it's basically
cries.
a tumult of like cries and destruction and distant explosions, and you almost get a sense that Vi's hearing it in her head, like it's some kind of trauma, which is really neat because when Vander starts talking, it disappears for a little bit. I thought that was very, very neat use of sound design and storytelling. This is one of my favorite scenes for this character too. Like,
who, Vi?
Great voice
Yeah,
acting
because-
from Haley Steinfeld.
oh, all of her voice acting in this is top tier.
Amen.
Step on me, mommy. I mean, anyway, yeah, because like you expect her to do this like girl power, whatever. I don't need to listen to you. I know I'm right. But like Vander starts talking and like he does make sense and she believes him and listens to him and she gets the lesson, which I did not expect. When I first watched this, I was like, oh, I expect her to go full punk girl boss, whatever. I'm not going to do what the man says, but they didn't.
Yeah. Well,
They
she
made
kind
her, they
of
made her
does.
smart.
She does do that, but it's written. It's just written well because she says like my
Yes.
entire life I've been told that I am lesser than them, but I want Powder to have more than that. So she's not being punk for the sake of punk. She's being punk for people that she cares about. Like she
Yeah.
wants people that she cares about to have a better life than she has already.
Yeah, which you know is why you sort of agree with her like morally, because it's like, yeah, you do deserve a better life. You look like you've been through some shit. You know, it's all implied too. We get a little taste of it, but
And there's the parallel with Vander as well, because that's the same mentality as at play in both characters, and you can sort of infer that she's picked up that trait from him in particular. But he's in the really awkward position of having to say, well, I want a better life for you than I had myself, but this might actually be the best it can possibly get, because you can't rebel, you can't have the revolution because you will lose, or violence will ensue. But he has to then reckon with the fact that this lowly state of affairs in which she is objectively the underclass is the best he's been able to give her. So there's still the torment of that in his character.
Yeah, they say earlier, that Vander built the underground, whatever that means. It's like, I kind of worked really hard for this. Don't want it all, going to hell. So it's easy
it's
to
basically like, I've been down this road before. I used to think exactly like you're thinking. Please listen.
Well, and then he mentions, like, who do you want to lose? Echo? Do you want to lose Miles? Do you want to lose Powder? Like, who do you like? You're going to lose your friends.
Yeah, well,
he
mentions that he's like, the last time I was on this bridge, your parents died.
Yeah.
They might still be alive if I didn't do it. But like the thing
and
is,
one
though,
thing,
despite all of this, like talking about the inevitability of events before, like it still happens anyway. She ends up on this bridge at the end of Act 2, surrounded by everyone that she loves, thinking that they're all dead now, like is Jinx dead on the bridge, after her fight with Echo. Caitlyn's been shot, I think. No, Caitlyn wasn't shot. She was shot. Sorry, I haven't watched it a long time, but just the whole thing is, you can't fight your revolution, but the revolution's going to happen anyway. Which brings us back to, these events are inevitable.
One piece of like outside context. It's not in the show, but I think it's I don't know if it's a tweet or I saw it in like a character mock-up pic during like pre-production. But all like Clagger, Milo, Powder, Jinx, not Jinx, Vi, he all kind of adopted them after the bridge fight because all of their parents died, so he took on the responsibility of being their mentors / like parental figures because he blames himself for all of the death that happened on the bridge.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, even earlier when they're trying to convince him to go to war, they're like, "You're just trying to protect your kids." That's exactly how they phrase it. They're his children.
Yeah, and
he's
also
like, I'm trying to protect my people.
Yeah, and also when he talks to Vi in the first episode, and he's like, you tell them to run, they run. You tell them to burn a building down, they show up with oil. But at the end of the day, whatever happens, it's on you. And when he says it, like, he means it because he believes it. Like, there's a lot of shit that's happened that's on him from his point of view. Like, he blames himself for a lot.
Yeah, and the interesting part is Vi, it actually sinks in because she's seen enough to understand.
Yeah, I mean, her
So-
parents are dead. It's like if this was her actual parents are telling her, "Hey, you got to work. Don't listen to me, please." Like, but the fact that it's like, I'm not even your father. Your father's dead. Like, listen to me, please. Like, we've been this. I've seen this before, for real.
I'm not gonna lie. First time watching this episode, I thought this is gonna be some woke trash because of the way they portrayed Powder being a sharpshooter outdoing Milo. You got Vi, just like
Episode 3 will turn that around.
well,
This
and then
ragtag group of heroes. I wonder what's going to happen in
Yeah.
episode 3.
yeah. So, but then you get to this point here again, it's like the showing kind of like a weak moment with a male character. I was just like, okay, where are they going? And then I was like, well, they're gonna actually like introduce potential suicide here. This is
Well, he's given up.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is
Even
Well, he's
this
just
is
had his
something
purpose
different.
taken away. Like,
Yeah.
he considered himself kind of on borrowed time, or like he's been reborn through magic, so he sees that as like his ultimate goal. Like, it's almost like the universe has endowed this, you're the chosen one thing on him, and that's been taken away now, and he doesn't see a way forward. So, and plus
Even
this
with
is the
going
only
back to
person
the
he
powder
actually cared about.
example, just very quickly, the powder example is even that is useful character building stuff because Powder's whole thing is that when she's
Mhm.
safe and when she's at home and when everything's basically a game, everything she does works. She's a sharpshooter. The little toys that they function properly. Everything goes as planned. It's when she has to go out into the real world and then she sees the real stakes and she clams up and she gets terrified and runs away and everything falls apart. And that's setting up the profound character transformation that happens after episode 3 when all of a sudden she it's not even so much that she doesn't think everything's a game anymore. It's more that the entire world has kind of become a game to her at that point.
Yes.
So she's lost that fear factor and now she's just as capable in reality as she is in her own head.
I'm stealing that thought for my next
Well,
video.
Not only that,
writing that down right now.
she's afraid to lose the innocence that she was trying to hang on to for the longest time. You're starting to see as we start going through these episodes, her mind fracture, and she eventually just caves in and becomes the monster like we were talking about earlier. Oh man, now I had a brain fart. I was going somewhere, but like I was gonna say, like Powder, she like you're right. Like you're like a lot of alluding to how she becomes this character later on, and I like how they do that. But the first time watching, I'm like, oh boy, where is this going? I hope they don't make this kind of some kind of feminist kind of thing, or like women are all powerful or all that, because it's like because this could have a lot of potential, and then as this like you said, as it goes on, it becomes this great well written story.
Yeah, I found something very interesting, like just jumping way ahead into the series. This is the first time that like you'll follow a group of characters where one's a girl and puts on these like gravity defying gloves and beats the shit out of people, and you're on board. You're like, yeah, sure, cool, magic systems, whatever. But then when Jayce gets his hammer, I'm just like, wait, why can he suddenly fight with this hammer? He's had no setup. He's had no freaking, he's like the Ray of the Arcane universe.
Well, it's
and
like,
it's the
why
first time
did
I'm
you
like,
make a
I believe
hammer?
the girl fighting, but the guy, I can't. Well, he's got a hammer in the game, so
Yeah.
they have
It does,
to.
which is like that's one of the only times when the game reference I think really does work against it, because I had exactly the same thought. To the extent any episodes in this entire show sort of lost me, it was those ones when he's all of a sudden, he's a martial artist with a giant hammer. It's like, that's unearned.
Yeah, it's completely unearned. Whereas like Vi with the gloves, it's like, yeah, she was like born to wear these freaking things, right? That there's like 10 reasons why she should be able to do this. And so you totally believe it. Well, it's easier to believe anyway.
Sorry,
Yeah, because they set
laughing.
those up right from the beginning, right? Because Vander has the knuckle dusters, and she has prototypical forms of those. She inherits those knuckle dusters, and really the big gloves are just an extension of the thing, which ties her to her mentor figure anyway. That all makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And then Jayce comes along with the fucking hammer, and you think, what's going on here? This is just silly.
Hey, his family makes hammers.
His family is good at making hammers.
Oh,
so
that's right. Yeah, his family makes hammers. That's definitely the same level of setup.
Which is why he's really good at using a really, really, really big hammer. Comically large hammer, if you will. That shoots giant projectiles.
Oh yeah, it has a laser gun in it as well. Yeah.
Hammer
Yeah.
time.
Why didn't you just make a gun, man?
It's from the game, okay?
Sorry, Platoon, you caught me off guard when you said, yeah, he's swinging a big hammer. I'm like, oh boy, like the comments. I thought the comments for sure were going to be coming out.
The chat's already been.
Yeah,
they're talking about mixing gin and whiskey here.
Yes,
they're in their own world.
I brought up Buffalo Trace, and now John Sodomy Brown is just like, yeah, that's what we're talking about now.
Chat has muted us. They don't care about us. They're talking about whatever they want
to be fair, I sent them on the gin whiskey tirade.
Fair.
So Jayce is sitting there contemplating. He's already got the like, you see the note with the wristband with the rock in it, and indicating that right here, perfect, indicating he's going to commit suicide.
I have the best "It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia" meme for this that I put in my video that a lot of people found really off-putting. I think it's the funniest thing.
What was it?
It's I wish I had.
Where Frank's trying to hang himself.
No, it's they're all standing in front of the bridge, and it's like, hey, it looks like that guy's about to commit suicide. Yeah. Suicide's badass, and everyone's like, whoa, no.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, like, he's about to jump, and then the dude Victor walks in, and he kind of changed his mind. I think I don't know, if you were really determined to kill yourself, you would have been like, oh, hey, Victor, check this out, and just like jump out,
can't catch me.
Just like, what do you think of this? Woo! Just like
it's a bit of a risk as well, isn't it? Like, there's a guy right on the ledge, and you jump scare him. Yeah. There's a pretty good chance he's just going to accidentally fall off that ledge, but luckily, drama compels it.
If I was going to kill myself, what better way to do it than traumatize a bunch of people in the process of doing it, Obviously.
Or it'd be like that robot from that animated bit. Oh, I didn't die. Shit.
Oh man, there's that Patton Oswalt joke where he talks about like stuffing your pockets full of candy and gum. So like when you jump off a building, you're like a human pinata. So there's like candy everywhere. And everyone's like, "Oh my god, this is awful." Oh, a Snickers. Huh?
This is a nice piece of repetition though, because these two have a pretty decent relationship that kind of has a nice through line with it, like that. Am I interrupting? And it's later on. It's Victor in the same position, so they
foreshadowing,
come all the way around.
Yes.
Yeah. Through line repetition. I don't know.
The background
I never went to
here,
film
though,
school.
Motif.
The negative space used in here is excellent.
Oh yeah.
All this backdrop is freaking awesome.
I love the lens selection too, if you can even call it that, like the virtual lens, just the depth of field choices, like the width of frame and all that. It's always good. There's very few shots where it's like, this feels flat, like the amount of depth in the shot is insane. And it's probably 2D unless the camera moves.
I think these look like 2D.
They're probably 2D paintings, but they're on separate layers, So
like the greenhouse, that little group of houses, and then the roof on the right. That's probably 3D in the foreground,
just
and then I would imagine everything behind that is. I think it just zooms on it.
Yeah. That seems one layer. Okay, never mind.
That's what I'm saying though. Like they're so good at drawing and lighting that like they have this freedom to create whatever they want, because it's like, oh, we need to make it look 3D. Oh, okay, I'll just pop these buildings out and add a tiny little parallax shift. And it's like, damn, no one really does that. They make the whole thing in some giant game engine, and it takes a month to render each frame, but it doesn't matter because it's usually Disney, and they spend like $200 million on a full feature.
Victor. Dude, when he said his name, it just hangs on his face for like 5 seconds, and it's like,
because that's a big reveal for the League of Legends players.
He's got
dorks.
He's got Farkas eyes, yellow eyes. So help me God, he had yellow eyes.
My name is Victor. Crickets.
All
right, cool.
That did jump out of me the first time I watched it. I'm like, that's weirdly.
It jumped out to me the second or third or fourth time watching. I'm like, man, this cut gets longer and longer, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So Vi's telling Powder here that she's perfect in her own way. And her way, it may be a little different, but it's perfect.
What makes you different makes you strong.
Yeah.
Always remember that. And then gives her the bunny.
Each episode has that ending the two sisters having that relationship and having that moment talking about whatever is happening in that scene or that episode.
Well, also, everyone's getting
sister-
ready for war. Like
Yeah.
Clagger and Milo are like getting knives prepared because
Yeah,
they're
my
like,
little
oh yeah,
sister
the
showed me.
the Undercity is getting prepared for war, and it's like, what?
Yeah, your little kid sister showing you homemade grenades she
Yeah.
made, and she
These are
names
smoke
them.
bombs,
And
and
has
this one's
like,
made out of nails.
yeah, talks to him and stuff.
Yeah.
Fun.
And there's the bunny.
Bunny.
Yeah,
I gotta Google this later.
No, I'm gonna wait
I
till
don't know the
Andrew
bunny
tells
theory.
me.
it's the little rabbit Fufu running through the forest.
Mm.
I'm
Oh
just-
God!
I'm
Bunny
just-
foo-foo running through the
You just
forest.
reminded me of something I forgot. I thought I forgot about.
Oh, did childhood memory unlock just now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, the facial expressions they put on Powder though are just nuts.
Mhm.
You can basically tell exactly what she's thinking like every time they do one, and it's like, damn, like how do you even do that?
The expressions on Jinx are even better
Mm.
because she goes from like they're able to like manipulate, like they made a rig for her to make her look more mature, and then instantly like kind of round her face out to become more childish.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Jinx reminds me of like a combination of a certain ex I had and a certain actress. I'll get a finer hone on who that is by when she comes around. But
She's
my God.
psychopathically mad. So is it Amber Heard?
No, there's like specific ways the way she talks definitely reminds me of my ex Dana, who I know she's not watching this, but yeah, that bitch be crazy. Like when she
Well,
got
her-
real mad at me, her eyes would get all black and her eyes would dilate, and I was like, dude, you are crazy. All
Her
right.
face is like Audrey Hepburn, like the innocence, that innocent look, kind of Audrey Hepburn. The crazy is, well, I mean, there's so many crazy, out there.
think
But
the
I mean,
Powder reminds me more of like Bjork or something. Like I don't know, it's a little.
The thing it really
Bjork.
reminds
Yeah.
me of is maybe Coraline. I don't know if you ever saw that.
Coraline.
yeah,
like
Coraline. Yeah.
A little bit of that maybe, but
Wide
don't know.
head, big eyes.
yeah, that's sort of like not really flat, but like just the tone, like the skin tone, I guess.
They did just such a wonderful job of showing in every conceivable way how young she really is and how completely unready for the real world she is, and how like she's not even thinking in anything approaching maturity as everybody else sort of
Yeah.
is. Even the younger characters who don't really fully understand what they're getting into, nevertheless they're old enough to know that they are getting into something, and she's there
Yeah.
making like little toys which will help in a war. And she's so obviously not. And then so that's like the origin of the psychopathy is that she's dragged from this position straight out into the most mature, the most violent of worlds before she's
Yeah.
ready to even comprehend it.
She's never been in control. She's never belonged.
Yeah.
And then when she finally becomes Jinx, and Silco sort of undoes that potential of a proper childhood that she may or may not have had. It's I'm losing the thought already. But like, yeah, like
Well-
her level of innocence, it comes across even in her character design. Like she clearly cuts her own hair. It's kind of a mess. All of her clothes are hand-me-downs that don't quite fit her.
Mhm.
Sorry, I totally train wrecked there. I had a point. I lost it as I was
Well,
saying it.
here's the difference. Like with Vi, she's in her temporal lobe. She's in that fight or flight all the time because of the trauma. With Powder, you're seeing her. She's more in her cortex. She's kind of rationalized. She's still innocent. She's still able to rationalize a little bit. She and understand a little bit, but she's really innocent. And then when she turns to Jinx, she's in her more of her in her brainstem and her temporal lobe, where she's in fight or flight, or she's in her parasympathetic mode where she's at rest. So like you're seeing all this traumatic experiences affect them psychologically. So that's the beautiful thing about this story. And I kind of went deep there, but I don't know why I kind of jumped there, but that's like, because
That's
like
what it be, dude.
well, I work with at-risk youth, and you see these kids, like you see them, you see the innocence one moment, and then you see them in their like in their
defense
fight or
mode.
flight moment. And you see the levels of the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system kick in at different moments throughout the day. working with these kids, and you see this in this series with the sisters, which is done beautifully. That's why I love this show. And this moment right here, she's in that parasympathetic state where she's just calm and just relaxed and just at a low, like, and she's kind of taking everything in still. And
because she doesn't really have control over anything, right? She knows it.
Yeah, she's naive and innocent and gullible, and she's like when she's older, it makes sense because that's what you see with kids. Like they as soon as they hit a certain age, they start to lash out. They start to, and puberty obviously affects that a lot too. But that's what I really like about this series, because it hits all the marks.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's
we
why
talked
it
about this
resonates
last
with
week,
a lot
how
of people, is how darn relatable some of these characters are. They feel real, you know, and their interactions are, you know, they're understandable. They make sense. You know, there's a lot of psychology going on in this show.
Oh, tons,
especially with the
tons
whole
of psychology.
Silco, Vi, Vander, Powder dynamic. It's kind of crazy. I know people that have hour-long videos just looking at the psychology of those 4 characters. And like you watch and it's fascinating stuff, and it's like, wow, this goes really deep. It's like, oh, I knew a person who was like this, you know, they were at or you know, like troubled youth, you know, they were like orphaned, they had all this stuff going on, and it's like this character is this person that I knew from like real life, and it's like, damn, it's kind of neat. It's almost like they're based loosely off of, you know, someone that they knew or, you know, had interactions with.
We talked about this last week though, how like Powder, like there's like little signs that she might be pretty kind of not all there, like schizophrenic or crazy when she's young.
I kind of had a theory. I thought it was multiple personality disorder.
Oh,
but
yeah, maybe.
I'm not a psychologist, so
it'd be more.
She just has
more
like a lot of
schizophrenia.
She has a lot of attachment issues, and that's where this like just
All
psychotic nature comes through. Because like in the first scene of the show, she doesn't cry until Vi starts crying, and even then she just kind of hugs Vi. Like later in the show, she kind of freaks out because, you know, Vi has told her, hey, you're not ready, you're just not ready, you don't fit in yet. From her point of view, she's being told, you are not like us, you are not you don't fit in at all.
Which is the opposite of what she wants or needs to hear. Because that's like the main source of her, you know, troubles.
Especially since like the past 2 episodes, Vi has been reinforcing this idea that no, you do belong, what makes you different, what makes you strong. And then for all of that to come down when Vi says you cannot come with us. And she kind of, you know, and that's when she starts freaking out because she doesn't know how to deal with that. And then like she makes bombs and she makes these different like weapons and grenades, and she sees that as the thing that makes her belong. So she says, this, I will do this and I will belong. But then we see, you know, during the time skip, she becomes great at making bombs, and she becomes great at making all these weapons and crafting all these plans and doing heists and stuff. But
shooting guns.
Shoot guns, all that. But she's still alone in her lair or her room, essentially.
And it makes the way that they part, like Powder and Vi, the way that they part at the end of episode 3, that much more devastating, because it's like it's perfectly reinforcing exactly what Vi was trying not to do, right? She's trying to encourage Powder to, you know, find out what she's good at, figure it out, learn how to belong. Like, you will be strong at something, you just got to figure out what that is and double down on it, and, you know, I'm here for you kind of thing. And then at the end of episode 3, it's like the complete opposite happens, a complete inverse, and then all of that negative energy is reinforced by Silco, and Vi doesn't get to defend her position, and it's like, we'll get to that. But yeah, phenomenal character. I think Powder / Jayce is easily the strongest written character in the show. She's the star of the whole show. As far as I'm concerned. I don't know if she's my favorite character, but she's the best written, I would argue.
Well, there's so many layers there. Like there's just layer on top of layer. Like it's beautifully crafted. Like the storytelling. Like Andrew, you said it perfectly. She, in the beginning, she didn't cry It was Vi that was showing like the weak moment and down on her knees, and it was Powder that was consoling her when it like realistically it's the other way around. And then Vi tries to become this strong individual, and looking out for Powder as she continues to make mistakes. Yeah, it's the writing for this series is just incredible. I really like the psychology of it.
On top of the like attachment issues, once Vi leaves her in the alleyway, she is being like completely abandoned by the one attachment that she has left.
Yeah.
And then Silco comes along, and then she's like, a new attachment. I need you right now. I don't care who you are. I need you.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that in episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That we will, which is next week.
So
not
Mark,
looking forward to episode 3. Episode 3 is going to be rough.
Yeah, it'll probably be 3 hours.
Yeah. This is Marcus getting scolded by the general here, and
do you realize what you've done?
Yeah.
Maybe there's still time.
And then the track plays.
And then the track plays. Yeah. And we get
Bunny.
Do you realize what you've done?
Almost like Harvey.
I do like this scene. If you go back, this scene is the only scene that we really get with Powder and Vander.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
This is real. I think this is the only one of them two together, and nothing really happens.
Other than the bridge, this is it. I've dug through the footage like freaking 10 times.
I do wish
find anything else.
I wish there was a bit more of Vander talking to Powder, but it could be a thing where Vander kind of like sees problems with Powder, and he's like, this is a.
I think
I'll deal with this when she's older.
He's got his hands full with Vi and like the rest of the crew, and he's relying on Vi to be there for Powder. That's the way I kind of saw it. But like, that's also going into that whole idea of like what could have been, which is basically like one of the major like heartstring tugs of the whole thing. It's like what would have happened with it? Like, would they have had like this ideal life together if this shit show didn't occur? And
not only plays
into that a bit.
You see the different relationship between Vander and the two boys, Milo and Klager. And Klager. I always want to say Klager. You see a different relationship between those three, and then you see him with the two girls. It's a different relationship.
Yeah,
he treats them like a typical male when it comes to females. And this,
he just gives her a drink.
Yeah, but I think it's the difference in relationship between he and Vi and he and Powder, which is probably the more instructive one, in that, in a sense, that this scene is kind of foreshadowing, because he spends all of his time, effort, and attention on Vi, because Vi is the closest thing he has to an actual daughter. And she's the one that he thinks will create the problems, because she's strong-willed, she's capable, she has this immense amount of potential. And this scene, he doesn't really have very much of a close attachment at all to Powder. And she's the one who's going to go on to prove to be the biggest problem for pretty much the entire world.
Yeah, Silco even says that, which is quite interesting, because he's like, I thought you were
Vander's prodigy.
The problem. Yeah, Vander's prodigy, but it turns out your sister is much more capable and interesting and pliable.
Well, it's consistent with their both of their lines of thinking. Well, Silco's line of thinking, like, take your potential and create this unhinged monster that you can be, and just become the most powerful thing you can be, rather than Vi is more of the headstrong leader that Vander sees in her, and he sees a younger version of himself in Vi. So Vander says, I need to take care of you because you're very important. And like,
it goes back to there's that philosophical difference between Silco and Vander. Vander is very much that you have potential, you need to learn to have a conscience. And Silco is, no, you just need to have potential and fulfill that potential, conscience be damned. So there's that underlying there. But then again, back to this scene, the other useful thing is that the bunny is kind of probably the attachment avatar for Vi in this scene, and it really just proves that Vander probably he could try and be closer to between words. Powder, if he wanted to, and that's what he's trying to do in this scene. But there is only one person in her eyes, to the extent that when Vi isn't in the scene, she has this little surrogate for attachment that no father figure, no mother figure, nobody else can possibly inhabit. So that profound distance really that exists between them just goes on to foreshadow that it's the break with Vi that creates the monster that is Jinx, and there's nothing Vander could have done about that because his mindset doesn't allow him to see that coming. He can't conceive of this happening.
No, that's true. I completely agree. I also think it's quite interesting that like this whole end of this episode, just kind of like at the beginning of the previous one, there's no dialogue, but you get what's happening totally. Like Vi has sent the scroll or whatever tube thing to the enforcers. They didn't tell us this. They didn't even show her do it, but we know it was her. We know it's her, figuring out this way to sacrifice herself to save the people that she cares about. And then Vander puts all that together, just looking at the fact that Powder has the bunny that, was stuck up in the wires. And like he gets all of this and he understands these girls well enough to know this, which shows how much he actually cares about them because he's invested in, knowing a thing or two about them. I thought that was very interesting because it would have been all too easy for them to just explain this away in a conversation, but they don't. It's almost like a montage, which I really appreciated.
Yeah. I was kind of upset to find out this is a modern song. This song, and also it's the only time that we see the jukebox actually work in the show, right?
We see it later when it gets.
Yeah, I think we see it later.
Okay.
Yes.
Safika gets thrown into it.
Yes.
No, but I mean, does it actually plays a song? I mean, because
no, I
use up
think
every
it
episode.
plays again. I think it gets played again.
Always at the beginning of every episode.
Oh yeah, actually, I don't know if you're paying attention.
Oh boy,
I think it actually
Yeah, it's a good
does
song.
get played in each episode. Now I'm thinking of it.
I was like, what is this song? I always like it when like old songs that like slip past my radar, but I was like, oh nope, the song's from 2021. All right,
Well, all of the songs are written for the show,
which is
So-
cheaper, honestly. Sometimes than getting royalty rights to some of these better songs or more popular songs. I mean,
and from what I understand, all the artists that were involved that wrote original music were already fans of the game, so they were like asking to be a part of this. Particularly Imagine Dragons, dude. They used to have concerts at the gaming events.
Hey,
is
you
insane.
know what?
nerds.
Do you know the
Like
movie Heavy Metal?
30,000 people.
Heavy
You
metal,
know the
yeah.
movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. All those artists wanted to be a part of that movie as well because they were big fans of the magazine. And
I
look
can
how
see
that
that.
turned out. That movie was hidden for the longest time because no one would settle on the rights to the movie. They all wanted their chunk. So I'm curious how this is going to play out later on.
Well, so far I haven't gotten any copyright claims for anything that I've uploaded from all this music. I basically have uploaded the score in its entirety and every piece of original
Netflix and-
music.
dude.
They don't care.
guys
They just don't
They're
care.
just like,
There's
like-
only one thing that they cared about at the end of nearing the end of the last episode. They set up a theme for what I assume is going to be in season 2. It's the only thing that doesn't exist in the released soundtrack, and they flagged that and they're like, please edit that out, and then it's fine. And I was like, okay. I just quickly edited it out and boom, put a Halo song in there. Done. Pretty much.
Dude, me and
So,
Andrew watched Howard the Duck and Universal. Man, they're not cool. They rejected
are
my
not cool.
dispute, but they left the videos up. So whatever. Sometimes
Oh,
they reject it
cool.
and block your stuff, and I'm like, man, don't be lame, bro. Just let me rip on your dumb '80s movie. All right.
with a really good soundtrack.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Dude,
honestly,
haven't seen
Universal
Howard the
though, they're jerks. They gave me shit about Meg and Brides of
Yeah.
Dracula, which is like a,
Well, Paramount is definitely not better. I think Warner Brothers might be a little bit better, but they're still really bad. It took me 4 months to get a video uploaded by them. or
Disney
from
also
them or
doesn't care.
through them.
I haven't
what
had
production
any
company has a vendetta against you, Platoon?
Amazon.
all of them.
Amazon.
Amazon.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I think it's
Particularly
Universal.
Amazon.
Yeah,
I
Universal.
had trouble with Universal getting the Jurassic World Dominion video up, but Universal that was the just the algorithmic thing. They're just strict on that. Amazon had people manually combing my Rings of Power videos and claiming just there will be 2 seconds of a clip, about 15 seconds of other clips, and then 2 seconds roughly related to the original 2-second clip, and they claimed it all as one part of their content manually. So they knew they were fucking lying. And yeah, God, yeah, I'm looking forward to Rings of Power Season 2 for precisely that reason.
Hell yeah.
They did something very similar to me. I edited it down so every clip that I was using, it was reframed, it was flipped horizontally. I changed the resolution, I changed all kinds of things about it, and I never had more than 5.5 seconds at a time. And they flagged the entire second half of my video as one chunk that I was re-uploading. I'm like,
I don't even
you,
pay
man.
attention when they say like this section or that section, because what happens is you'll edit out that section and then
It
you'll
means
get
nothing.
claim.
Oh, it's something else, yeah.
Tell me where
Yeah.
they all are so I can just fix it once instead
My
of spending
Flash-
4 months.
My Flash video took like 21 uploads to get the final
Yeah,
one
it's like
that
a
worked.
That's like a month of trying.
Yeah.
It is on my internet anyway.
Getting back to
Nightmare.
this quickly, as we see Vander holding the bunny.
Vander understands bunny theory.
Mm-hmm.
Vander Dalton.
And
What
Nobody
is
wins a
bunny
war.
Someone
we
explain this to me.
see Vi
Yeah, I'm intrigued. I
waiting.
don't know what the bunny theory is either. What is the bunny theory?
You'll get it sometime.
Andrew's
make
trying
up
to
my
like,
own,
you know,
but-
pique our interest and make us wait for it or
Is this
research
like that
it
bullshit
ourselves.
like the game where if you mention it you lose or some shit?
Sure.
Just let us know what episode you're gonna bring. You're gonna finally spill the beans.
I
on
can
the
bring it up
bunny theory.
next episode.
Okay, if 3, no, that's fine. We can wait till next week. It better
What,
be
the
good.
bunny is
Though.
the main character.
It better not be some silliness.
So they're obviously indicating that Vi has given herself up, and then that's where we end.
It's
So-
the episode 2 has a good cliffhanger because you open the door, but you don't see who comes in the door, and you just
But
get
you
her
see her
reaction.
eyes.
So it's like,
Yeah. And it's not what you
Which
would expect, and it's not scared. It's
is how they started the show. When you think of it, they started the show like that. So
Mhm.
the other side of the door.
Huh.
So your general thoughts. Did we talk about how we were gonna, were we gonna review each episode out of 10, or did
We did
What
it
did we
last
decide?
time, but
Yeah,
I don't know
we
what
did
I'm
it
going
last
to
time.
give this because I don't know. It's so tough doing.
I want to give it 10, but there's one episode I want to give a higher score, so I'm going to give all the other ones a 9.5.
so you're giving this one a 9.5?
I am.
Stupenzo?
I mean, I would say I like this episode a little more than the last one in terms of like getting me interested, because the first episode was a little more contained, in terms of like getting to know some certain characters. This is the first time where we get to see, all the science stuff and the committees and the, all the, what's the word called? What's the town called?
Piltover.
Piltover.
I know, I forget that all the time too.
Anyway, all that good stuff. It makes you interested. All the stuff about magic. It's like kind of like the early episodes of Game of Thrones, where you just give us a little bit, kind of keep us coming. I don't know. So I guess if I gave the last episode a 7.5, then yeah, maybe 7.5, 8. A little bit better than the last one.
Andrew?
I don't know. Last episode I gave an 8, and I don't like points.
Yeah.
I feel like I got to round up. I'll just give this one an 8 as well, because it did like the same. It did set up for theme rather than character, like Platoon said, and also did it without like completely halting the plot. Like the plot is still moving, but also we have character development for like the new characters that are being introduced. We have Mel's character development, we have Jayce's character development, we have Heimerdinger, we have Victor. Like we've pretty much been, and Caitlin, but like we've been shown a bunch of new characters, and yet the plot has not stopped. We've just kind of like tiptoed back a bit, seen the other perspective, and then we're now going along with the rest of the plot. So it did that really well.
Platoon?
Yeah, I have no idea how to score this.
Yeah, I know,
even
dude.
comparatively. I'd be tempted. Yeah, fuck it. I'll say 8, just because the suddenly wizard at the beginning is the thing that does rankle.
Yeah.
We don't get
I am
wizard. Within the context just of this series, I don't think we ever get any more information as to where they're coming from, who he is, why this happened. So for all intents and purposes at the moment, it is suddenly wizard, and that's a bit of a flaw. But otherwise, everything else is so very, very good. I'll say 8 just because I think there's at least 2 points worth of better episodes coming It's just annoying because I feel like I should be giving it a higher score. But yeah, 8 will do for now.
I felt with episode 1. Wait,
I
well, how
never
would you
give
rate?
anything a 10. And like, it's like women. Like, there's no such thing as a 10. You know what I
No,
mean?
there is, and
So, like,
her name is Haley Steinfeld.
No.
Anyway, next.
No, it's such a weird thing because like no, I'm never in this end of the spectrum. Normally, it's a case of oh god, I can't possibly give it a 1 because there's going to be something worse coming.
right.
Whereas with Arcane, it's like there's going to be something
know.
better. I know there's a better one coming, so I can't give it a 10. But you're right. Yeah, there's no such thing as a perfect 10 or a perfect 1. It's unwise to give things perfect scores.
I like to give things this like red and black star rating where it's like if it's 4, black stars, that means it's good. You should see it. If it's like 4 red stars, that means it's bad, but you should also see it. Like it's insane.
So bad,
you
it's
know?
good.
What?
Yeah.
That's so okay.
Like,
No, that makes
negative
sense.
red,
Let him
yeah.
cook.
Yeah.
It does make sense to me.
Right.
Yeah, it's like
You just
Howard,
do-
Howard the
you have
Duck,
to-
4 red stars. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
I honestly think this episode, like watching it, you had more questions than you did after the first episode.
oh yeah, Dr. Heimerdinger, what the hell are you? Like I'm just
Yeah,
gearhead.
which is it's
What's
not a
going on?
bad thing. Not a bad
it's a good
thing
thing.
after episode 2.
Well, it's not like
As long as they get
it's not like a
answered.
J.J. Abrams one where they never explain anything
Right.
ever. It's just next mystery box, next mystery box.
Well,
It's
or
also not a
Ahsoka.
huge- it's not like essential to explain what the hell gearhead is either.
Yeah.
It's just like
No,
let's
we
just
don't
roll
give a
with
shit.
it. There's a
He's
guy with
just
a
a dude,
gearhead
fuck it.
face.
And also,
Yeah,
he
whatever.
explains. He's
I
like,
don't want to
hey,
hear 6 hours about the Gear Wars.
he's like, hey, magic wiped out my people, and you're
Yeah,
like,
bro.
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was on a gear. I'm from Gear World, as you all know,
Yeah.
obviously, from looking at me. And Gear
Gear
World
World.
it's not a thing anymore because of magic.
Don't make me
Yeah.
rip off your cogs and shove them in your mouth.
So, I would give this probably an 8 as well. I think the first episode I gave an 8.5, so I'd give this one an 8.
Oh, you're all making me feel like a fanboy.
Well, you kind of are. I
Yeah,
mean,
fair.
Listen, I'm a fanboy too.
yeah.
Yeah,
not
but I
gonna
gave it a full 1.5 more.
Listen, this show is my entire personality. All right.
I used to rate things really harshly, but then I realized I wasn't giving anything a 10 out of 10. I'm just like, screw it. I'm just gonna give everything 1 extra point moving forward. So
So
Platoon.
closing out tonight's show,
I have a
I want to
question.
thank.
I have a
Okay, go ahead.
question. Platoon, what would you give episode 1?
Oh,
God.
that's I would have asked that as well.
Oh god, it's been so long since I've seen episode 1. I don't really remember. I would I'd hazard a guess and say 7, but that is a guess.
All right.
Fair enough.
Jamalama
Jamalama
gives it
8.5.
8.5.
Yeah, I'm giving the show headroom because I know it like
I don't
It
think
doesn't
it
get
ever
better.
good.
dips. It doesn't
Yeah,
ever dip below a
way
5,
better.
I don't think.
Yeah.
I think
Oh, hell
5 is
no.
probably the lowest score I will give an episode in the entire thing. And that's the Hammer episode, so, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's not the strongest episode. I have issues with that one too, but still, I don't think I would give it below a 7. I'm a sucker for good animation. I'm a sucker for good sound design because that's kind of one of the things I'm into. Like making things sound good is so freaking hard. Like even just
Oh, yeah.
miking a drum kit could take you a week to get it right, you know? So
Mhm.
like
Oh,
when characters that are drawn are in a room and you
ban
can
them.
and it sounds like they're in the room
Yeah.
that they're in, or like someone's dumping metallic objects into a bag,
Yeah.
and you don't only get a sense for like what they're made out of, but the size of them, how they're interacting with each other in the bag, you can hear that all. And for someone like me, that's like, holy shit, this is like magic.
Yeah. And
I-
like when
The only other
in
sound
the-
design I think that's even come close to this that I can just think of off the top of my head is Star Wars. Particularly the prequels has amazing sound design.
mhm. The like the magic, like in episode 1 we had the explosion, then like episode 2 we have Jayce's backstory. Just like the sound of it all, like even the magic feels tactile.
Yeah, and I love the sound of Hex Tech. That's like
Oh.
peak when that tower does that woo thing. Oh,
Oh,
so
yeah.
good. I even have it in my video. I have like the little meme where it's just like, ooh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hostman's right.
Hex Techno. There you go. Some music.
So
Alright.
closing out, we can go around the horn quickly if you guys want, just to mention quickly where we're going to be for, I guess, till next week. Platoon, did you want to start off because you're usually pretty busy? So you
sorry.
you'll be
Right now?
where are you
you
going to be
gonna
for? Where are you
Where
going
am
to
I-
be
Where am I going to be? Probably in this chair. I never really leave it.
What is
you
your
ever going to finish
location?
that glass of wine or what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
ever
just
gonna
got an
finish
IV. He's got an IV. He's just changing.
Ever gonna
there's
finish that
a
cigarette?
little
Nope.
tube that goes down my wrist and straight into my neck. That's why I'm wearing a turtleneck, so you can't see.
Yeah.
Where am I going to be? There's for some fucking God knows what reason, there's still an Echo video in production. I don't know when that's going to be out. It's going to be in the next week. I don't even care about this video, so don't feel obliged to watch it because it's Echo. I just had nothing else to do. Other than that, I'm usually on Brown's channel on Sundays, and I'm sure there's something else I'm supposed to be doing, but I can't remember what it is. So for now, those are the two things. Yeah, eventually, yes.
Yeah, whatever we decide.
Is that indoor stream full?
No, it's just us right now.
It's just conceptual at the moment.
Yeah.
Right. I want to be on that. I love Andor.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Andor.
It's got
I
pacing
don't care
problems.
for Andor.
You can
gave up on life, on Marvel.
Stupenzo, you can watch it vicariously through our streams. It'll be fun.
There you go.
Yeah.
It gets really good at the end, but man, does the beginning suck. I won't defend that part.
The beginning is good. I like the beginning.
It's fine, but it's really boring.
The show is perfect.
Here we go.
Andrew, where are you going to be in the next week? What streams?
Here.
Yeah,
That's it.
Same.
That's it.
I put my Rebel Moon video on the back burner because it got really long.
Well, part 2 is coming out soon, so you can just do what I'm going to do and combine the two of them together into one epic takedown of Zack Snyder.
That's going to be so long.
He went down a rabbit hole into farming. He was like stuck in the farming aspect of Rebel Moon.
Dude, there's like this like British like university that
you started them. That's it.
I found
Pull the string.
I needed like
it started as a Rebel Moon video, and next thing you know, he like has a farm because he gets an agricultural degree.
I just ended up in Britain talking to people about like medieval like agriculture. Like, hey, how did it work? Is this okay? But that video went on the back burner because I have to work on my Temple of Doom video now, critiquing that movie because I hate that movie.
Yeah, I'm not.
It's actually my favorite of the three.
It's one of those. It's so bad, it's watchable.
I know that Last Crusade is arguably the best. Maybe Raiders, you could say, but I like Temple of Doom best, even though I know it's the weaker of the three. I love it. It's so violent.
Raiders is amazing, but the third one's definitely the best.
I think objectively the third one is awesome.
Send me a DM there, Hostman. Enzo, where are you going to be? Where we can catch you?
I think tomorrow, actually, I got asked to go on Brad from Canada's channel to talk about Ninja Scroll. Which I'm like, well, yeah. So I'll do that.
Is it going to be really bad if I ask what Ninja Scroll is? Because I have no idea.
Cool anime from the 80s.
Oh,
it's very violent and there's a lot of nudity. You might know it as the Wind Ninja Chronicles. It's an alternate title for it.
No. It sounds
cool.
interesting though.
It's a cool. I like anime movies. I'm not a big anime like show guy, but there's some cool movies and anime. And Ninja Scroll is like one of the more like schlockier, hardcore action flicks of the anime genre. You know.
All right, this is probably a good place to ask. Sorry to interrupt, but okay, an anime movie worth watching. Just one.
Ghost in the Shell.
Tokyo Godfathers.
Ghost in the Shell is very good. Akira.
Tokyo Godfathers is the greatest Christmas movie ever made. Paprika.
Tokyo Godfather.
Anything by Satoshi Kon. Perfect Blue. Millennium Actress.
I just talked about this.
I'll start there because I've tried anime so many times and I can't get
Akira,
into it.
Obviously, everyone.
I ain't even gonna try.
Akira is like to this day still probably the best.
Yeah,
I don't know. I tried Akira and I understand why it was so impactful. I don't really get on with it, but Ghost in the Shell, the Wachowski. Yeah, I know. Well, everyone has to have one. You of all people know that everyone has to have a hot take. Ghost in the Shell. When the Wachowski sisters were the Wachowski brothers, they said they watched Ghost in the Shell and said, "Let's do this for real," and that's how they made The Matrix. So it's a very formative film in that regard.
And The Matrix 1 is amazing.
I had a cat named after Major. Her name was Kusanagi. She was a cute little gray Russian blue.
This one here too is really, really good, but it's a slow burn.
It's like if Alfred Hitchcock made an anime. That's what Perfect
Yeah.
Blue is.
I like slow burns.
I'm not a
gonna
huge
watch it.
Hitchcock fan, if I'm honest. I appreciate it, but it's just not my. It's not
Die.
my wheelhouse. Yeah, I will eventually.
The Birds is great. I also love Vertigo, obviously.
Vertigo, yeah.
Rear Window. But I used to watch the old Alfred Hitchcock show when I was a little kid. They showed on Nick at Night back in the day. But yeah, other than that, I'm sorry. Other than that, yeah, Mondays, Wednesdays. I got Howard the Duck coming out with me and Andrew on Wednesday on my channel. So check that out. It's going to be
wild movie.
Noise.
That movie's crazy.
I was so glad that you suggested it and you hadn't seen it before. I was like, this is going to be fun. I'm excited.
I want to see Space Truckers now.
What are you talking about?
Yeah,
that movie is
Space Truckers.
Rick D singing the theme song. Yeah.
Howard the Duck is a 10 out of 10. That movie is perfect.
Right. I told him before it started.
Marvel,
first of all,
Howard the Duck?
Yeah. It was the second Marvel movie ever besides Red Sonja. And I told Andrew before it started, it's like, first of all, you're going to be shocked that people hate this movie. And you're also going to be shocked that this movie was for kids. Like you're going to be
that
like,
was also
pretty.
Yes.
Just duck tits. Just
duck tits
in the first 30 minutes. Yeah.
Nice. Very classy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
And she sleeps with a duck. Amateur, where are you going to be this week, brother?
Well, I'm going to be back on here next week. Other than that, I'm not scheduled for anything, I don't think. If Stupenzel's doing one of those Monday night things, I might pop on there. I was going to this week, but I was really ill, so that didn't really work out. Missed a bunch of stuff this week, actually, but yeah, other than that, that's back on here. Super exciting.
All of us, I think all of us are going to be back next Thursday for episode 3, I believe. And then as for myself, I'll be on Saturday Night Hypnosis. I'll be, on a bunch of other shows on next week. Next Wednesday, I have Joe, Kayla, and Sean coming on. So come join me then. Come join us next Thursday as we do episode 3. And I'll be, floating around doing stuff. I want to thank my panel. You guys are awesome. Thank you for joining me and doing this. The chat, you guys are great. I don't know what the hell was happening in the chat earlier about kicking out and all that stuff, but just be respectful.
I might have started that.
Yeah, just be respectful.
That's what happens when you give an abolitionist a wrench. Just saying.
But I appreciate all of you guys. Nice. I appreciate everyone. Thank you so much. And we'll catch you guys next week on here doing episode 3. Everyone take care. Have a good week.
Peace.
Bye.
Peace.
Bye.